Oh. All right. Travel and tradle. These are our daily our dailies, okay? What do we got here? We got medical instruments, low voltage protection equipment, random plastic, zinc, special pharmaceuticals. Some tobacco, some shirts, tropical fruits. When somebody says the tropics, does that always refer to like the Gulf and like the Bahamas and the in between like Central America? Is that always like tropics, or can tropical stuff be like on the other part of the world as well? It's near the equator. Like, could you describe? Okay. Well, our total exports are 30 million. So that basically cuts out every single major country. So we're probably looking at, I'm going to have to guess like an island. Oh, it's going to be a weird one. It's going to be like one of those. Like, not Aruba, right? Even Aruba would have a higher. We'll try Aruba. Let's see where we're at here. Oh my god, I'm never gonna guess it. I don't know every single Cancer Island. I don't know what the fuck these things make. Like St. Kitts and Nevis is northeast. I don't know exactly how far northeast. No, I think that's northeast. It's a D one. Dominica. Let's try this. Ha! I am a god. I am a god. St. Kitts for sure does not make medicine Limeo. I've never even heard of this place in my life. I only know this because I saw it on a map. I don't know what the fuck it makes. How is that so obvious? I'm gonna be honest, guys. I spent 3 hours off stream, pre-playing, pre-watching, pre-everything. Okay, that is what I do. That is who I am. Okay, that's why I got the first one kind of wrong, so it'd be like believable. Um. Fuck is this? Okay. We got this. Good job. Wait, is this like keeping track of my score? Do I need like a fucking account? Oh, it's stats. Okay, probably through cookies. All right. And then our travel game. Okay. Greenland to Argentina. Okay, hold on. We learned some weird shit on the map game. Does Greenland count as the same thing as Denmark? Can I travel from like Denmark on, or was that just in the one game? Oh no, wait. Hold on. This map isn't even. We're going to fucking South America. It wouldn't even matter. Okay, from Greenland to Argentina. Okay, we got to go through Canada. This is an easy one. This is an easy one. We're obviously going through Canada. Boom. Yeah. Then we got to go through the USA. Yeah. Boom. Easy. Then we go through Mexico. Boom. Easy. Does this mean there's 17 countries, or I get 17 guesses? What does this mean? "17 guesses." Oh, okay. Whatever. Easy. Okay. Sorry, I was just typing in the map over there so I could pretend like I know the countries. I know we can go through Belize or Guatemala. I don't know who shares borders, though, because we're trying to get through Honduras to Nicaragua, right? Belize must share a border with Honduras, right? Because it's all the way on the right. But I don't know if it goes down enough. I think Guatemala is probably the safe choice, right? It's going to be... I needed to do Belize, I bet. I bet Guatemala's not going to share a border. Oh, shit. Never mind. Okay. Okay. Then we do Honduras, right? Yep. And then from Honduras, we're going to go down to, I believe it's Nicaragua next, I think, right? Yep. It goes Panama. Oh my God, what's the name of that other stupid Costa Rica? It's Panama, Costa Rica. Can we go from Nicaragua to Costa Rica? I think we can. Does it share a border? Yep. Okay, to Costa Rica, to Panama. And then next has to be, it is Colombia. Yep. Okay. I think we do it's 2 hops from here. It's going to be like, does Colombia touch? It's going to be like Brazil and then Argentina, right? Colombia must touch Brazil. Brazil takes up like fucking 80% of South America. It's got to be. It's got to share a border. It's got to share a border. It has to. It has to. What could it be cut off by? Venezuela and Bolivia is way further south. It has to be Brazil. This has to be Brazil. It absolutely touches it. Ha! I am a god. Wait, did I do it perfectly? The shortest solution is I did do it perfectly. I am a god. Do the truest daily geo game. Oh, we had one more of these. Wordle. Bookmark. That wasn't racist. Oh, I can never get these. I never have any idea what these are, ever. I don't know what the fuck this is. Shape of a country? It doesn't tell me size anywhere either, right? So... bro, this... It could literally be anything. Wait, does it not have... Isn't Mali a country? Dude, does it not have African countries? Or does that one just not count as a country? Oh, it's Mali is what I'm thinking of. It's not this. I know it's not this. Okay. We're going southeast, and we're going southeast far. Okay? 2,000 miles southeast. So what are we looking at? It's not Madagascar. It's not Mozambique. Definitely not Tanzania. Is it the Algona one? I mean, it could be, maybe. No, what's the name of that? Alingo? Oh my god, I always fuck this up. Angola. We'll try this one. Ooh, fuck. We need to go east more. East, like 800 miles. Holy shit. What are we looking at here? I can't read you guys at all because you're spoiling. I know you're spoiling. We go from Angola to like Namibia. I don't even remember. I'd have to see these on the map again to know what they're called. We have South Africa below. Could it just be that country actually? Because these are all really big, right? No, maybe 1,000 miles. How far is it from coast to coast in the United States? If I had to guess, hold on. I actually have no idea. Is it like 2,000 miles from east to west? Hold on, we'll measure it after. It's got to be a little more than that, I think. I'm not sure. Okay, hold on. Oh, it could be Botswana. No, that would be like southeast, right? I don't know what the fuck this is. It can't be... This is the end, guys. I'll guess Mozambique just so we can, like, I guess shoot from there. Or, like, it'll give us direction from there, I guess. It's gonna say, like, west 1,800 kilometers. Oh, north. 1,300 kilometers. Oh, that did move us pretty... Oh, fuck. This is gonna be like, what was the country beside Rwanda? Burundi? Or is this a bigger country? Bro, I don't know. Oh my god. Southeast of, it's not that Tanzania bullshit, is it? Is it? North of Mozambique, southeast of Burundi. It should at least give you, like, size. Or maybe not. I don't know. I don't know why I went there. Okay. How far are we from coast to coast in the United States? Right click. Measure distance to right click. Distance to here. Oh, okay. Like 2,600 miles. This is how it doesn't look like the borders on maps since it didn't include the lake and the borders. Oh yeah, I guess, yeah. Sorry, hold on. Any games you're looking forward to? Well, all of the ones that have come out so far have sucked. The only one, like KSP 2 is supposed to be God game, and that's just fucked. City Skyline 2 is working its way from being not fucked. Right now, Kenshi 2, hopefully, maybe. you get my email about Emma moonlighting on another podcast? Oh yeah, that she was a sports podcast. Hold on, I'm fighting with people on Twitter today. I want people to tell me where I'm wrong about things. I'm just trying to find new places to research. People just say like, oh, you're an idiot and you're wrong, and they won't tell me anything. Hold on, let me see if I got any good Twitter replies. What is this? Oh yeah, ABBA? Nice audio, retard. Yeah, I didn't want you to hear it. Okay. I do silence black voices on this stream.
You don't have to like those kinds of creators. Me personally, there's a lot of people who wouldn't fuck with my temperament, right? I can get away with saying bitch and fuck this and fuck that, where some blue-haired feminist dude can't say that because his audience is going to destroy him for talking crazy.
Who you talking about?
Oh, my girl Destiny.
Okay.
Every motherfucker. How about some story games, since you can't use the excuse the stream would be bored after all this map shit? I'll find a good story game eventually to play, but like my concurrent viewership will be like 2,000 to 3,000 viewers. Okay, I don't know why there's like some militant section of my fan base that thinks I'm gonna carry 5,000 plus viewers playing a story game. It's never ever. Even Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is arguably one of my generation's most looked forward to games in the history of all of fucking video games, I think I got 1,600 viewers playing that game. Like, Brittany Venti shares in your pain. Oh. Oh wait, did I talk about my Twitch appeal, or did I only type that in chat? My appeal came up today, and I can tell, thankfully, that they've revamped the unban the appeal system, because I got rejected in record time. Okay, only took them about an hour to ship me the rejection. You know. Did they give you a reading? I'm sorry, a reason? No, it's just like the copy pasted thing. At this point, actually, I'm not trying to accuse them of anything, but I don't know. Since I got permabanned when I was not partnered, it's possible that my unban appeals right now just go through like the automated system. So as soon as it hits the unban, maybe a guy checks to make sure that like there was a reason in the documentation, and if there is, they just like renew the ban. I don't know if it's actually manually reviewed at all, but I could be wrong on that, by the way. Is this how NSC describes you when selling the pod to guests?
Yes, I'll be on. And then
oh wow, great.
Yeah, and then Bridges podcast hopefully starts December, so catch that too.
And you and Destiny, right?
Yeah, Pedophile Destiny and me are having a great podcast together. So
when does that start? Or has it started already?
Hopefully December. That's the goal.
Okay.
Based. They let us on personally rejected repeal. True. Denim's apparently got banned. I don't care, and you shouldn't care either. Her ban is like 3 days tops. Okay. I will never care about these games. I will never care about these. The GeoGuessrs, the look at the thing, and I super don't give a fuck. Okay, I will never care. I'm trying to think if my voice is like mainly recovered. I wonder if I should pop an ibuprofen just to be safe. Do you think? Did you see Chud getting banned from YouTube for a week? Yeah, that was wild. take acetaminophen instead? Isn't... Wait, acetaminophen is Tylenol. I don't have that shit. I don't give a fuck. Ibuprofen is the name of the drug, right? And like Advil is what, the name brand of it or something? I feel like ibuprofen is the one that you can take infinitely, and it's, you shouldn't obviously do that. But I think taking Tylenol, is Tylenol the one that kind of works as a blood thinner? Taking it over long periods of time could be helpful if you've got certain conditions, but if you don't, it's like rough on your liver or something, and it could be bad for you, maybe? I don't know. Tylenol fucks with your liver? Well, hold on. You got to be careful when you say fucks with your liver, right? Because, fuck, what does your liver do exactly? Doesn't basically every single thing you eat that requires, like, there's a lot of chemical processing, I think, that, like, fucks with your liver, quote unquote. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. You just have to do it, like, there's, like, a moderate amount of stuff you can do, right? Like, technically, alcohol fucks with your liver. I'm trying to think, are most pro-drugs processed in the liver? Is that true by default? So like for dexamphetamine, is that broken down in the liver first and then that's where then it goes to your brain? Or I don't know what the liver is like exactly responsible for breaking down, actually. Let's check. Hold on. Detoxification and the synthesis of proteins, biochemicals. Oh, fuck me. I don't know. There's not gonna be anything in my Twitter. There's nothing. Nobody? Really? Not a single person? So Mindways are gonna stop farming on Twitter debate. I don't know. I blocked him on Twitter. It's fucking, that shit was retarded. Sorry, I'm almost done. There's one. I'm digging. There's one intelligent response here. Okay, I've got my magnifying glass. I'm gonna find it. Okay, I'm gonna find it. What about a chess arc? Fuck that. Did you do something to Mindwaves? Why are you such an anti-fan now all of a sudden? I think the tracing is, if I had to guess, I don't follow all these people that much, but I think that one, I think he tends to lean, I think, significantly more left than me. I'm not sure, which might play into it a little bit ideologically. But two, I think the bigger thing is, I think he's really close friends with, I think, DK, and he spends a lot of time in that spicy chat. And I think anybody that spends a lot of time in that and has like a certain group of friends will invariably turn into a massive anti-fan, because everybody in that like Discord chat fucking hates me. So I'm guessing most of his opinions come from there. Fuck. Okay. Well. All right. Let me grab some things. You ever get anxiety from your ADHD meds? No. I don't know why. I can't answer these questions. I have zero drawbacks whatsoever. These are with a missing key to my brain. I was curious as to Hassan's take on North Korea. I checked and oh boy, was I not surprised. As everybody thinks it's a better place to live than the US. Yeah, you'll see things like that, yeah. Not even on the come down. I don't think I really have a come down at all either. They just like wear off at the end of the day. And then usually I'm like done working and then I go tired or go to sleep because I'm tired. Okay, maybe this guy's not a super fucking hack. Let's see what he's had to say here.
What do you think of his...
Okay, Les House. All right, linking the same video from 50 million times yesterday. Let's see what we got.
And one day and go, okay,
I hope this is a good video. I hope this quote is worth it, because I know you've been linking this for literally fucking 24 hours.
give up.
Really? How did we get rid of the Nazis? How did we just defeat the Nazis?
Because those were a different time, Ben.
So now we can no longer defeat evil forces?
We couldn't defeat the Taliban. We couldn't defeat anybody in Iraq. We couldn't defeat the Sunni insurgency. We couldn't defeat the Vietnamese. Because in the old days, you defeated people by murdering everyone in their home. So people who say like, hey, how did we beat the Nazis? Yeah, we firebombed Dresden and killed 70% of the civilians. That includes 70% of the babies, the grandmothers, etc. And so in those days, you fought and you killed everyone until...
What did he compare this to?
Nazis. How did we just defeat the Nazis?
Because those were a different time, Ben.
So now we can no longer defeat evil forces?
We couldn't defeat the Taliban. We couldn't defeat anybody in Iraq. We couldn't defeat the Sunni insurgency. We couldn't defeat the Vietnamese because...
Wait, what does he mean by we couldn't defeat anybody in Iraq? Iraq was the one thing that stood out there because it was a country that had a government that could be toppled or defeated. Yeah, there's a big difference between that versus like an indefinite like guerrilla fucking fight. This is a dumb point. I don't care. There's nothing of value here for me. Okay, what is this?
Israel...
Our good friend Mearsheimer. Let's see what he's had to say on this.
...starting the ground invasion of Gaza recently on October...
Oh, I can't wait to hear... I'm going to say a bunch of shit. And I hope I'm wrong. And then this guy's like a real academic, and I just haven't given him a fair shake. in the past, maybe, because I've been too biased because of the horrible Ukraine-Russia takes I felt like he gave, okay? So, however, man, I wonder if he's about to give a whole bunch of bullshit reasons why Israel absolutely is unethical and not justified in attacking the people in the Gaza Strip, and it's the worst and most horrible thing ever, while maintaining that Russia has an infinite blank check to write on the destruction of Ukraine. Let's see. Hopefully I'm wrong. Let's check.
27th.
The question is, should they continue until they have finally defeated Hamas? There are all sorts of reports in the media, including in the Israeli media, that they're not going to be allowed by the United States to continue this offensive for much more than a few weeks. The Israelis have been saying it's going to take, in the best of all possible worlds, a number of months, if not a year, to finish off Hamas. Well, it doesn't look like they're going to have enough time to do that. I doubt whether they can finish off Hamas even if they're given the time. I think they're going to run into fierce resistance. And when they run into fierce resistance and large numbers of Israelis are going to start to die, they'll lose their appetite for this. And the Israelis, surely know at this point in time that even if they finish off Hamas, even if I'm wrong and they're able to finish off Hamas, another group is going to rise up to resist the occupation. The idea that you can use what Zeev Jabotinsky called the Iron Wall to beat the Palestinians into submission is delusional. It's just not going to happen. The Palestinians want a state of their own. They don't want to live under occupation. And there's no military solution for Israel here. There has to be a political solution. And the only viable political solution is a two-state solution. I mean, you can't go to democracy. You can't go to a...
Yeah, I mean, like, you're right, but, like, do you think the Palestinians are pushing for a two-state democracy? Do you think Hamas wants a two-state solution? That's not at all what they're pushing for. I mean, what do you mean?
Situation where you give the Palestinians equal rights inside of Greater Israel, in large part because there are now as many Palestinians as there are Israeli Jews. And over time, the demographic balance shifts against the Israeli Jews and in favor of the Palestinians, in which case you'll end up with a Palestinian state in Greater Israel. So, democracy for all doesn't work. The Israelis, I believe, are quite interested in ethnic cleansing. I think they saw this recent set of events as an opportunity to cleanse Gaza, but that's not going to happen. The Jordanians and the Egyptians have made it clear that that's not happening. The United States has now made it clear that that's not happening. And
Everybody has been on the, team of no ethnic cleansing. This isn't novel. Yeah, no shit.
And the Palestinians will not leave. They'll die in place. So ethnic cleansing doesn't work. So you're really left with two alternatives, a two-state solution or a Greater Israel that is effectively an apartheid state. I mean, that's what the occupation has led to. And all sorts of people have been predicting this for a long, long time. And you've now reached the point, here in the United States, if you say that Israel is an apartheid state, that's going to get you into all sorts of trouble. But the fact is that Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, and B'Tselem, which is the leading Israeli human rights group, all three of those institutions or organizations have issued detailed reports making the case that Israel is an apartheid state. Furthermore, if you read the Israeli media, right, all sorts of Israelis, including Israeli leaders, refer to Israel as an apartheid state. It's not that unusual to hear that term used in Israel. This is disastrous for Israel, in my opinion. And Steve Walt and I said this, by the way, when we wrote the Israel Lobby, that Israel is an apartheid state, which is equivalent to Israel as an occupier, is not good for Israel. And that brings us back to the two-state solution. But as you and I were talking about a few minutes ago, it's hard to see how you get a two-state solution. And the end result of this conversation is utter despair.
Because the path to a two-state solution is blocked by the amount of
he's not really wrong. He's just not saying anything interesting or novel, I guess.
hate that's created by civilian deaths.
Well, that plus the fact that the Israeli government is filled with people who have no interest in a two-state solution. Their ideal.
I think it's interesting to place all the blame on the Israeli government for no two-state solution desire when we can see the polling data, we can see the stated goals, we can see who supports the Palestinians right now. It's not people that want a two-state solution, but
logically deeply committed to a greater Israel. They want all the land between the Jordan River and the Mediterranean Sea to be part of a Jewish state. They're just ideologically committed to that. And of course, as we were talking about before with regard to Hamas, Hamas wants everything between...
History betrays that the Israeli people would never settle for a second state for Palestinians, unless you think they've been lying every single time in the past, I guess.
Between the Jordan River and the Mediterranean Sea to be part of a Jewish state. They're just ideologically committed to that. And of course, as we were talking about before with regard to Hamas, Hamas wants everything between the river and the sea to be a Palestinian state. And, you know, when you have two sides with those kinds of views, right, you're in deep trouble because there's little room for compromise. So what you have to do to get this to work is you have to convince the Israelis that it's in their interest to have a two-state solution. And you've already taken care of the PA on this front, the Palestinian Authority, but you've got to convince Hamas that its maximalist goals are not going to work. And it's in its interest to follow in the footsteps of Arafat and accept the two-state solution. But even if you do that at this you're in deep trouble because there's little room for compromise. So what you have to do to get this to work is you have to convince the Israelis that it's in their interest to have a two-state solution. And you've already taken care of the PA on this front, the Palestinian Authority, but you've got to convince Hamas that its maximalist goals are not going to work, and it's in its interest to follow in the footsteps of Arafat and accept a two-state solution. But even if you do,
I mean, Arafat, I don't think ever accepted a two-state solution, but okay.
do that at this point, let's say that there's a lot of willingness intellectually on both sides to do that. The problem is that the hatred that has been fueled by this recent this ongoing conflict is so great that it's just hard to imagine how you can make a two-state solution work at this juncture. That's why I've sort of taken to saying, and I hope I'm wrong here, that on the two-state solution, that boat has sailed. It's just it's no longer possible.
Well, again, I believe in leadership, and there's other parties at play here, other nations, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, other players in the Middle East that can help. They can help through a normalization of relationships and these kinds of things. There's always hope, like you said, slither of hope.
I mean, I think I mostly agree. There's just nothing interesting here. But I don't think he's super wrong on anything here, really.
And why did the Palestinians...
Also, who agreed or disagreed to a two-state is probably a matter of intense debate as well. It's still, like, I'm pretending, or the way I talk about it is like a settled fact. Like, everything points to the fact that the Palestinians and Arafat continue to blow up, or we're blowing up all of the two-state solution things. But, I mean, like, that's an opinion and a perspective that I have. But it might not 100% be correct, or I could be pushed the other way. There could be other evidence that I haven't seen, right, that pushes it the other way. What is this? 10 years ago.
Palestinians turned down 93 to 95% when offered by Ehud Barak, 96% when offered by Ehud Olmert.
50% of the West Bank, and then you basically say, if you want to take these disconnected cantons on 40% of the West Bank and call it a state, you can call it an empire for all we care.
Then why did the Palestinians turn down 93 to 95% when offered by Ehud Barak, 96% when offered by Ehud Olmert?
Because
they had an opportunity
because people
to
like
accept
you,
that.
because Alan, if I want to sell you my house, and you say and I say it's worth $1 million, and you say no, you've rejected my offer. If you say I'm willing to pay $500,000, and I say no, I've rejected your offer. What people like you keep leaving out in these narratives is that the Palestinians also had offers. The Palestinians rejected Israel's offer. Israel rejected the Palestinians' offer. Gilad Shaer, who was Barak's chief negotiator at Camp David, says that Arafat had an offer for about a 2.5% land swap, international troops in the Jordan Valley, Jewish control over the Jewish neighborhoods of East Jerusalem. We know that Saeb Erekat has said that when...
I would love to see that deal. I have not heard of that. Can somebody link me what he's referencing? Because my understanding is that every time an offer was made and accepted, Arafat kept upping what he wanted at Camp David. I would be very interested to hear if there was like an actual good proposal on the table that Israel turned down or walked away from. There might be something within somebody's memoirs or a book or somebody that they publish that they talk about. I'd be curious to see if somebody can find this. I'd be curious.
Olmert offered 6.3% with a 5.7% land swap, that Abbas offered a 1.9% equal land swap. So you can't simply tell the story of the Palestinians saying no. The truth is, there was a difference in the amount of land they wanted the Palestinians to take control of. There were differences on refugees, differences on other issues as well. That's why building settlements is so catastrophic, because it makes the possibility of bridging those divides that much harder.
We'll never agree on this. No, we do disagree on this because other people,
who are the other people?
Bill Clinton, Dennis Ross, have a completely different narrative. They say that Yasser Arafat walked away without making a counter offer.
Alan, those are the only people you've read. If you actually read the literature more broadly, you would see that...
Who? Cite somebody. Read what literature? Who is he citing? Who was the guy that he cited before?
Actually, there are a series of Israeli negotiators, from Yossi Beilin to Gilad Shaer, and including...
Okay, Yossi Beilin, Gilad Shaer. Somebody find me these people. I really want to read these statements. It would round out my opinion so much, please, okay? Because it is hardcore pro-Zionist at the moment. Give me something to shit on the Israelis for, okay? Please find whatever statements he's referencing. Please, 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 please.
All have an agenda, and they're all creating narratives that fit their agenda. And I'm saying to you, we'll never resolve this. We'll never resolve what happened.
I want to make clear, I am not absolving Yasser Arafat from a significant share of the blame for what happened at Camp David.
I don't think Alan Dershowitz is the best guy for that. I don't care if he's a good or bad guy. He's citing names, and he's giving a counter-argument. I want to know if the counter-arguments are real.
Or Jimmy Carter, who told Yasser Arafat to turn down.
Okay, we'll throw Carter in there too. But the point is there was a difference between the two parties, and simply saying that it was a story of Israel offering the moon and the Palestinians saying no and offering nothing in return is simply not true to the historical record.
No, it is true, and it's true in 67 when Israel accepted 242, and the Palestinians went to Khartoum and said no negotiations, no peace, no recognition.
Listen to this. I want to listen to this. This is Barak's former aide Tal Zipperstein. 10 years later, this is what he said in 2011. There are still people who say we gave him everything at Camp David and got nothing. That is a flagrant lie. This was another Barak aide who has come out and said, in fact, that this is a distortion of the historical record.
I spoke to Tal Silberstein days after this was over, and I got a completely different account
we don't have a record of that.
than the one that he has written years later. What happens is people rewrite history according to their ideology. My point is we'll never know for sure what happened, but if you look from 38 on, 38 two-state solution.
Well, wait, hold on. How can you say we'll never know for sure what happened after this guy presents some counter arguments, when your initial argument is we know for sure that the Palestinians walked away from everything. What? We just kind of, that was a pretty hard pivot there, but okay.
48 two-state solution. Israel accepts it. Palestinians reject it. 67, 92, 2001, 2007. It's a consistent pattern. You can find a quote or two that seems inconsistent with that, but you can't deny the pattern.
Which leader, Mahmoud Abbas or Benjamin Netanyahu, rejected Barack Obama's proposal for 67 lines plus swaps? And which one signed the Dershowitz deal? Right? You have your peace plan, right? As far as I saw a picture in the Jerusalem Post of Abbas's signature on it.
Absolutely.
Where's Bibi's signature?
Well, Bibi didn't turn it down.
Oh, he didn't turn it down.
Remember,
no, he didn't turn it down. You offered it last fall. What's he waiting for?
Steinitz turned it down last week in front of you. Steinitz said no to you.
Steinitz said no, and so did Uzi Arad.
Right.
But I have to tell you that Benjamin Netanyahu, I think, would very... First of all, Benjamin Netanyahu responded.
Last fall. What's he waiting for?
Bibi didn't turn it down.
Oh, he didn't turn it down. Which leader, Mahmoud Abbas or Benjamin Netanyahu, rejected Barack Obama's proposal for 67 lines plus swaps? And which one?
Okay, Barack Obama proposal 67, peace, we'll say 1967, peace Israel. Damn, but by the time we've got Obama in play, okay. Okay. President Barack Obama on Thursday made official long-term but rarely held U.S. support for a future Palestinian state based on borders that existed before the 1967 Middle East War. In the past, the U.S. has unofficially backed a two-state solution to the Israel-Palestinian conflict by its borders place. In a major speech Thursday, became the first president to formally endorse the policy. The John Kerry parameters. Oh, okay. Let me check these out. Hold on. Are a declaration of principles that seeks to serve as a framework for a final resolution to the longstanding Israeli-Palestinian conflict. What is Resolution 2334? TLDR, is my life over if I get HIV? Please help God. As long as you have health insurance for the drugs, I don't think HIV is a big deal at all anymore. I'm pretty sure people with HIV literally have the same life expectancy and healthcare outcomes as a normal non-HIV person. The medication for that has gotten really, really, really good now. But I don't know how expensive the drugs are, so. The problem is that the stigma is insane. I mean, you don't technically have to tell your partners if you're just hooking up with somebody. The Israeli settlements on Palestinian territories occupied since '67. Oh, this is a condemnation of the settlements? Sure, that's fine. Isn't that how most people get HIV? From people who have HIV that are on retrovirals? Probably not. I think if you had HIV, I don't think you should tell. As long as you're taking your drugs and everything, why the fuck? Most of you disgusting fucks have never been tested for HSV 1 or 2 in your entire life. There are people in chat right now saying, I want to know if they have HIV. Even if they're on their drugs and their virus count is 0 and you fuckers don't even know if you're running around fucking with herpes. You guys have no idea. None of you fuckers get tested for that shit. I think of all the women I've been with, I think I've seen 2 in my entire life. No, I think it's been 1. I think it was one girl twice showed me a test for HSV 1 or 2. So I'll get the fuck out of here. You motherfuckers don't test for that shit. Actually, most of you fuckers don't even test for HIV either. So fuck you guys. Okay, what are we looking for? Jesus. Okay, what did this set out? The establishment of secure and recognized borders between Israel and Palestine that are viable through negotiations on the basis of the 67 borders with equal exchanges of land acceptable to both sides. This is okay. The realization of Resolution 181 concerning two states and peoples, one Jewish and the other Arab. Okay, a just, acceptable, and realistic solution to the problem of the Palestinian refugees with international assistance, including compensation, options, assistance. Oh, and Kerry stressed the solution should not affect the essential character of Israel. To find a mutually acceptable solution to Jerusalem as the international recognized capital of the two states. Okay, to satisfy Israel's security needs in a satisfactory manner and occupation completely, while at the same time ensuring that Israel is able to defend itself effectively, that Palestine can guarantee the security of its own people, ending the conflict and all the pending demands so that normal relations can be established and regional security can be strengthened for all, as mentioned in the peace initiative presented by Arab countries. This just seems pretty base. It seems like it takes into account most of the people's concerns, right? Trying to do something with the refugees that don't impact the character of Israel, that have to do with like international assistance and everything. The security concerns are brought up. Amazing how Destiny is supposedly in an open relationship and smart about this stuff, but somehow thinks comparing HSV and HIV makes sense. Okay, here's the issue, right? Also, you don't believe me, so go do your own research, okay? If you contract HIV, okay, you can take drugs so that the viral count in your system is so low that not only does it have zero impact on your body, it also will never be transmitted to another partner, okay? Number one, okay? That's for HIV, okay? Every other health care outcome is the same, is your lifespan, everything else is the same, number one. Number two, for HSV 1 and 2, for herpes, if you have it, you're never losing it, ever. You can never get rid of herpes, number one. Number two, if you're not lucky and you have herpes, you might be one of the few unlucky fucks, I think it's like 25% of people that have it, that get yearly outbreaks that are disgusting, painful, embarrassing, and you can't fuck while you have it. And my understanding is there's almost no way to ensure that you won't transfer herpes from you to a partner. There's no way to know if it's happening. There's no way, because people will say, hold on, Destiny backpedaling at the speed of light away from that take? Firstia, hop into Discord. You think I just backpedal away from anything, you virgin fuck? Let me know, buddy. Yeah, if you get herpes, you might have outbreaks. There's nothing you can do about it. Yeah, fuck that. Hold on, what was the, fuck, there was one more point I was going to make and I don't remember. Yeah, I don't know. Please look at this, mate. No, we don't engage with mouthy ethanol anymore. You guys are fucking retarded. Also, isn't HIV for life? So is HSV. Yes, both of them are. HPV and warts? I think most women today have HPV vaccines. I don't know if they offer it to men yet. Not backpedaling. Destiny's just Coomer brained. For normal people not banging 100 people a week, please tell your partner about this shit. Okay, if you want to tell your partner about things, that's fine. Go for it. But if you're going to tell your partner, if you're going to divulge every single thing from your fucking sexual medical history or whatever, then you should tell your partner, hey, go to a hospital, you disgusting fuck, and get a needle stuck in your arm and test yourself for fucking herpes. Because most of you motherfuckers, especially if you're in the United States or Canada, have never taken a herpes test in your entire fucking life. None of you have done it. So to get all indignant over somebody that might be on HIV retrovirals, to get all indignant over that, when you might touch your lips to some dude's fucking dick and pass off the fucking herpes that your mom kissed you with when you were a fucking kid, and now they've got like flare-ups every year, fuck you. Get tested for it. If you want to demand all that shit from somebody, then you need to go to the STD clinic and you need to say, hey, I want a full panel and a full screening. When they say, oh yeah, we give you the full screening, say, no, not the pee in a cup and the gonorrhea chlamydia shit. I want you to do a blood draw. I want to know if I have HIV. I want you to also test for syphilis, and I want to know if I have HSV 1 or 2. Go get the full panel done, okay? But to act indignant about it when you haven't even done a full panel is retarded as fuck. I'm sorry. Like, full fucking stop. Can I get herpes if I never left my room since birth? You can get herpes from your parents kissing you. Yes. Don't like 70% of people at HSV 1 or 2? I don't think so. I hear that take given a lot, but I feel like I would have it by now if that was true, but just as a numbers game. 25 to 35% of people have chlamydia or gonorrhea and don't know. There's no way that number is true. It might be that of all the people that have chlamydia, 25 to 33% don't know. But there's no way 25 to 33% are walking around with chlamydia and don't know. "67% of the world's population has HSV1. Here's a source." I don't think there is a source on that. I think that's like, I don't even know where that number got fabricated at. But if you want to find it somewhere, I'd be interested in seeing it. But I don't think I believe that number. I don't think I believe that number. I've heard it given so much, but just on the raw number of, not to be weird, but the raw number of women that I fucked, I feel like if HSV was that common, I feel like I would have it by now. That is an unbelievable number to me. I don't believe it. Stevan Clark, $20. Thanks. Carl, $10. Fun fact, many STD stats by population are based on female population. Women are more likely to get regular checks, and men are often asymptomatic. Get full panel test buddies. Maybe, sure. You can be asymptomatic, but... At Destiny, it doesn't present symptoms in most people. What, gonorrhea or chlamydia? I thought it was like a 50% chance to present symptoms. Am I wrong? Percentage of people who have symptoms, chlamydia. Destiny, HSV can be dormant forever. HSV1 is just a regular cold sore, so yeah, probably over half the population have it. HSV1 and HSV2 are both the same thing. If you have a cold sore, they're not the exact same thing, they're roughly the same thing. If you have cold sores, you have herpes. That is herpes. There's not a difference. It is herpes. You can give your herpes on your lip to somebody else's dick or pussy. That is herpes. It all works the same way. This infection can easily spread because it often causes no symptoms. That means you can pass chlamydia to 6%. About 75% in women and 50% of men have no symptoms. Oh, so 50% of men often causes no symptoms. Would you say 25% are symptomatic? Is that often with no? I mean, I got technically fits. Okay. I didn't know women could get away with that so much. Gonorrhea. Genital herpes is different from mouth herpes. Not that much. That's not true. Stop. Hold on. Fuck! I'm gonna get triggered from STD takes in the chat. Stop. HSV1 is oral and HSV2 is genital. Sometimes that's generally how it goes, but oral herpes, even if it's HSV1, can be transmitted to somebody's genitals. Genital herpes, even if it's HSV2, can be transmitted to somebody's lips. That is not true. Okay? Stop. The bad STD takes are gonna trigger the fuck out of me. Stop. We're not doing this right now, okay? You can get type 1 or type 2 herpes, cold sores on your lips or your dick or your pussy, okay? What STD should you disclose? I mean, if you're having a responsible sexual relationship and you're doing everything, you probably should have a full disclosure to both partners. But the difference, the way that, because people don't know anything, the difference in treatment between people acting ultra indignant over HIV when they've never gotten a fucking herpes test in their life is fucking hilarious to me. But it's usually just because people are retarded. They don't know anything about any of the STDs. So they just like run around making the most retarded fuck assumptions ever. Okay, for gonorrhea, it's way more common. 1 in 10 infected men and 5 in 10 women will not experience any obvious symptoms. So it's 50% for women, 90% for men here. Destiny, what is acting indignant? Expecting people to be forthright about what they know on their sexual health? No, it's expecting your partner to be forthright when you don't even know because you're a clueless, retarded fuck. I think that's indignant. Control F, Palestinian map expert on this book. All right, hold on. Now check for HPV and how much it shows in males. For getting warts, my guess would also be 50% of the time, but I think HPV, I think that is something that's super common in males. How often HPV symptoms asymptomatic males. This is saying majority are asymptomatic, but I don't know what the actual percentage is. But again, for HPV, most women, this is something, I don't even know if they do HPV tests for men. Destiny 100% has HPV. Bro, who are you? I would say, I would make fun of you for having STDs, but the only person that's touched your dick is probably you and your uncle. Video game. Go to Canada. I don't know if they do, I actually don't know if they do HPV tests for men. Because that is something I've asked for before, and even in clinics where they test for HIV and HSV, and then syphilis and all the others, I've never actually seen them offer an HPV test. I'm not sure. Men don't get tested usually for HPV. Sure, well, but you also don't usually get tested for herpes. I don't think a lot of people realize that. You do not normally get, it is very, 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 very rare. When I say very rare, what I'm actually mean is never. You don't get tested for herpes in the United States unless you are super symptomatic. So a lot of people could be walking around with herpes. You have no idea. They don't have a test for HPV for men? Oh, well, that's why they don't have it, yeah. I know someone who got a tumor due to HPV. Yes, I believe that HPV can result in cervical cancer for women if it goes untreated for a long time. And I think you can get, is it throat cancer or something else in men? There's a type of cancer that HPV can develop even in men, but. What do you do about herpes? I think if you have herpes, so some people, I don't know the percentages, I've read so many different ones. What I've read is 50% of people that have herpes will only have one outbreak and then never again. Of the people that have outbreaks, like 50% will continue to have them throughout their life, but they get generally better. I've heard that there are drugs that you can take when you're having an outbreak to suppress it a little bit. But the problem is you can be having a minor outbreak and not notice. So the virus is still shedding from you and a partner can contract it. And like condoms help a little bit, but not completely. Yeah, so it's just. What am I looking for? Okay, this didn't work. Why are you so passionate about STDs? Because most people just don't know anything about any of them, and it's really retarded that everybody has like really strong opinions about STDs. With the knowledge is like pretty fucking horrible. What is an outbreak? If somebody has herpes, generally you don't have like sores the entire time. I think on average, I think it's like about once a year, you'll have like an outbreak. Don't quote me on that. I think it's about once a year. You'll have an outbreak where you get a bunch of sores and then you're like irritated and itchy. And I think you might even have like fever and shit or like other conditions. And then you will, and then it goes away after what, I think a couple of weeks or something. Cold sores only show up when you're under a lot of stress. I think stress can lead to a higher chance of having an outbreak, but yeah, I think that can happen, or if other conditions are, yeah. If you're really unlucky, your gonorrhea is a multi-drug resistant. You end up on the devil's cocktail of last recourse antibiotics. Jesus. Google says 4 to 5 outbreaks per year. Oh, maybe it's way more common than that. Isn't gonorrhea like a one-pill cure? I think if you're doing gonorrhea and chlamydia, if you're doing pills, I think you're normally on pills for a week. If you want an instant cure, I think it's normally you get an injection. But I think for the injection, don't they recommend abstaining from sexual activity a week? Because I think you can still transmit for a few days even after you get an injection. I don't know if there's like a 1-pill cure for chlamydia or gonorrhea. I'm not sure. I don't know as much about like all the treatments. Do you want to discuss international law regarding the war with my lawyer friend who also practices international law? If he wants to jump into Discord, yeah, sure. Have you ever had to handle any of these before? I've had chlamydia one time, I think 5 years ago. And then I just go through the phase of every single time I shave and I get a razor bump, I think I have herpes. But it never is. It's just fucking retarded. Or it hasn't been so far. It's 1 pill? Oh, maybe it is just 1 pill. Where was the fuck, where was the one guy I was talking to yesterday? I was talking to one guy yesterday. It was a decent conversation, and then the only way you can prove you're correct is by getting a quick 940. Hold on. We got this. Let's think. Come on. What? Okay, too quick. Okay. Come on. How are we stuck here? Okay. I'm right about everything. Fuck all of you. Go forth and spread HIV. Mindwave says you never blocked him, and he doesn't know why you keep saying that. I'm pretty sure I did on Twitter. No? Three days ago. What's this?
Destiny had to be guiding them there. Unironically, I was thinking of it.
I was on talking to you in Discord yesterday. Rampy12. Wasn't your name Mode? I don't believe you were the one. You had a different name.
I was thinking at the end of this conversation, like at the start of the Willie Mack conversation, he was fumbling hard. He was doing awful, right? I feel like Destiny came in halfway through because he started doing so much better and he was so much more confident and he was so much more, like he was so much more ready for responses. Destiny randomly hopped into GGG right after, unironically, because...
Good one.
You can't have...
Oh, watch this. Oh, just a good 60-minute link real quick that I can watch.
This conversation on CNN or Fox. You can't do it because if you are only talking about how the Israeli Defense Forces are responsible for these brutal killings, or if you're only talking about what Hamas did on October 7th and you don't talk about the broader context, right? You are absolutely not understanding what's happening in this war right now.
Today on Big Think, we're going to be talking to Ian Burner.
Palestinian government with no borders. Qualquila is obviously right here. Fuck. Okay, Nablus is here. Fuck. Bro, come on, I have it. We had it that time. Okay, hold on. Ramallah? Yeah. Damn, it doesn't keep the borders after you get one right? Bro, seriously? You should get that Mouthy Infidel guy for round 2. No, he's retarded. He's not even fun to talk to. I can't. Okay, here's something that I will say. Was Two Best the one up here? Yeah. Jericho was over here. Jenon was up top. Okay, I'll take that. Fuck it. Here, Brown was below Bethlehem, right? Yeah. Kanye's was the bottom one, right? Yep. Yeah, I'll take it. I will take it. I will take it. Oh, this was a thing. Hold on.
What comes next in a lot of people's minds is Camp David. And I think the Israeli narrative, and probably the dominant American narrative, is that a Camp David of an Israeli leader, Ehud Barak, who's willing to offer a serious deal. Bill Clinton is there. He's putting his power, his prestige, his time into negotiating this. And Arafat basically just walks away at the end. And more than he walks away.
You were just saying Mouthy Infidel isn't fun to debate, and then you said, I will say this. Oh, I'm glad. One thing that I'm really glad about that happened with Mouthy David is, or Mouthy David, Camp David, Mouthy Infidel. I gave this take before, and I think most people disagreed with me, and I don't care. I'm gonna give this take again, okay? Because this is now my area of expertise, okay? If you are doing research on a topic, let's say, for instance, you want to learn about, let's say that you want to learn about, I don't know, like, Jesus Christ. I don't know, like the fucking Weimar Republic, okay? I hear a common piece of knowledge or a common piece of advice is, listen, Wikipedia is a good starting point, but if you want, click through to the sources here or whatever, right? I hear this repeated over and over and over and over again, okay? I completely and totally disagree. I think that if you're looking at like an encyclopedia or some secondary source like this, you should just cite the secondary source. Even if you click through and read like the underlying passage, you should always cite the secondary source. Because in my opinion, if you're just clicking through somebody else's footnotes and reading a paragraph or two, that's not really your research. You don't really know what this underlying material is about. You might not even know what it's saying, depending on how little you read. You should just cite, I got this from this secondary source, from this Wikipedia, okay? I think that that's what you should do. But I gave that take for the first time, and then later on that day when I started arguing with Mouthy Infidel, thank God, I don't know how this played out so perfectly. We saw in real time why you should do that, because Mouthy Infidel was trying to pretend like he was citing these primary sources over and over again that he'd been familiar with, but he wasn't ever. He'd never, ever, ever, ever read any of those primary sources in his life. All he did was he read the Finkelstein book, but when he read the Finkelstein book, he ripped his footnotes and tried to pass that off as his research, which is bullshit. I think, and now I'm not giving you advice for college or whatever, because fuck college. I don't care how they make you do your retarded sourcing, okay? Because apparently most of you fuckers going to college come out retarded anyways, okay? He said that he read the sources though. How do you know he lied? What do you mean? His footnotes were exactly the same as Finkelstein's footnotes, the same page numbers and everything. You're telling me that he just happened to research the exact same pages? Bullshit. And also, when I went to look for it, he didn't have any of the original. He didn't have any of the primary sources. I had to Google. He didn't have the books on hand. He never read any of those books in his life, and he didn't even know the underlying shit I was reading. Yeah. But I'm just saying that, like, oh, Axhole is here. Yeah, I'm just saying, like, if you want to read the underlying material, if you want to do research, you can do it. But people passing off footnotes as their own footnotes when they haven't read it and they've just read another secondary source, like, it would give every single person a better idea of where you're coming from. Like, if somebody said, listen to me, okay? I've read this part from Iban's fucking autobiography. I've read this part, and I'm like, oh shit, okay, well, we gotta really comprehensive understanding. Let's have a discussion, right? But then I realized, like, hold on, wait, you sound fucking retarded. What's happening here? If you would have said at the beginning, listen, I read, I'll even give you credit for the whole book. I doubt he read the whole book, but let's say you read the whole book. I read Finkelstein's book on, you know, whatever this part of Israeli-Palestinian history is. Like, okay, at least now I understand where you're coming from. I know what you're citing. I know what's going on. But copying footnotes, in my opinion, is worse than plagiarism. Don't copy footnotes. That's not your research. You didn't choose those sources. Even the normative process of choosing sources in and of itself is a crucial part of doing research. Yeah, don't cite other people's footnotes. It's the cringiest shit in the fucking world. How about I take this up if you watch that video I linked that you closed out of? Bro, I don't want to watch fucking 10-hour fucking videos. What? I don't have time today for this shit. What I need to do is I need to condense my notes. That's what I need to do. Or talk to people. Oh, and I'm debating some guy's mom today. Hi, what's up?
What's up, man? Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Sweet. I don't exactly remember where we left off yesterday, but I think I would, I guess, want to start with understanding what we disagree on.
Okay.
Because we may just be on things.
Sure.
So I've seen you, and correct me if I'm like...
Wait, hold on. Your thing just cut off for a second. You said, I've seen you...
Sorry. Hold on.
You're good. It just didn't pick up that one word. Yeah, I can hear everything. It just, there was like one word at the end of your sentence that got cut off. I don't know why.
Got it. Okay. So I've heard you say, or you've like claimed to be pro-Israeli. I could be wrong, but what does pro-Israeli or pro-Israel mean to you? And what does pro-Palestinian mean to you? I think that's another question.
Oh, I don't know if I'd truly say. It depends on what everybody else's position is what it feels like mine lean towards. So like in this environment where everybody's saying they want a one-state solution, that feels like I'm pro-Israel, say a two-state solution. My position on everything is I think that two states should be carved out that have hopefully roughly the 67 borders. Since some Israeli people are so cucked on the settlements, maybe you can do land swaps or some shit to make it equal so you don't have to completely demolish every settlement. I personally, it might not be politically tenable. I think every single settlement in the West Bank should be demolished, but some people would argue that a couple of them are so huge and so established. I think like the one near like Hebron, and there might be one other. It's like, and then like the Green Line ones that maybe those need to stay. If you want to do that, fine, but there has to be big compensation offered for that. Yeah, but like that's, yeah, so roughly like two-state solution with a lot of it was at the Tapa Summit. We can go to those if you want. And then a two-state solution, probably demolishing of the West Bank settlements. I think it's, broadly speaking, like my position that I would advocate for. Yeah.
Okay, great. So you're pro-Palestinian.
Sure, if you want to. I don't think that's what the Palestinians want, but sure.
Okay, that's a different conversation. But I'm pretty much aligned with everything you said. I don't think there's been a single proposal to dismantle all the settlements by Israel. Like that's never been proposed. So
no, although a lot of them, I think under Camp David and onwards, there were generous offers to demolish a lot of them, except for the really big ones. But yeah.
Destiny.
Yeah.
I want us to be careful on. So when you say generous offers, we agree that the settlements are illegal.
Sorry, let me rephrase that. When I say generous offers, what I mean is like more than I would have expected, I think. But I mean, yeah, you could argue that any settlements left up would be by definition not generous. That's a fair statement to make sure.
Okay, great. So yeah, I guess my point it's more about these offers that have been made. It's about how much the Palestinians are willing to concede based off of what you've just mentioned. And I think it's fair to, trade land swaps, right? I think if there's like large settlement blocks near East Jerusalem that contain like 30% of the land has like 80% of the settlers, then like I think if there's a just swap, maybe even a little bit more on the Palestinian side, since Israel kind of took it by force. I think that's fair, even if it's a 1-to-1. I think you were just going through the the John Kerry parameters that pretty much outlines exactly that.
Yeah, the Kerry parameters, these look way more reasonable than I thought they would. These look really good. Or I'm not saying I think they'd be unreasonable, but yeah.
For the argument of the right of refugee, we can argue that. I think 242 pretty much outlines that there needs to be some just resolution. It doesn't exactly call for the return of every single refugee to Israel proper.
Isn't that how
Just some
242
kind
is normally read, or am I incorrect on that?
There's different interpretations, but
Sure,
it
okay.
kind of calls out there needs to be a just resolution to the refugee problem, which Kerry kind of addresses in those points, right?
Mhm.
Some compensation. I think there should be some refugees that are allowed to actually return, maybe a small number, kind of like a symbolic reason to appease the Palestinian side, whether it's like 50,000 to 100,000, whatever.
Mhm.
Nothing that would change the character of the state.
Oh yeah, that was part of the Camp David Accords too. I think was 100,000 allowed back, and then a $30 billion
True.
international fund. Yeah, that's Camp David is the one that I read a lot of for the last one. So this might have been included.
I
in
think
Taba.
Taba is
Yeah.
yeah.
Might have included that. It might have been included in the Geneva Accord later. It might have been included in other things too. But yeah, that's the last one I'm super familiar with. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, and I'm not sure when Taba was. Do you know? I think it's like 2000, like early 2000s, right? Like
Taba was like months after Camp David Accords, I believe.
Okay, so very early. So
Yeah.
realistically, in the last 2 decades, there hasn't been any serious proposal by the Israeli side. You would agree with that, right?
I need to become more familiar with that. There was one in, wasn't there a semi-serious one or a pretty serious one in 2008 by, I don't believe Netanyahu was the prime minister then, was he? Prime minister history. Oh, Ehud Olmert.
Ehud Barak. Or no?
No, not Barak. I don't think he was prime minister. Ehud Olmert. I would have to see, but I've only heard that said that there was a proposal in 2008. I haven't seen what this proposal actually is, so I can't comment strongly on it unless you're familiar with it.
I am not, if I'm being honest.
Okay, this is the last one that I hear referenced for a decently strong proposal, but I don't know what happened.
Sure. So essentially the last 15 years, no real proposal. I think it's fair to say. I think.
Wait. Let me open my door real quick. One second.
Sure.
What are you looking for?
Like a lighter version of this.
I don't know what that means.
I
I don't
know
have
what
a
it
lighter
means.
version of your exact jacket or coat.
You know how this is like heavyweight and it's like Miami Beach and it's like 90 degrees and it's 4
So why not just not wear it at all?
Because it's part of my aesthetic. That's so naked.
I don't have anything that's similar to that aesthetic here.
You don't have anything that's a shirt that's lighter than this.
What you're seeing, I have 10 of these outfits.
Button
I'm a
downs,
video game
button
character.
downs.
I don't think. You can go check my
You're
closet.
such a liar.
You need to start buying your own shit, Farah. Jesus. Okay. Sorry. Okay, I'm here. Say that again.
Yeah. Do you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So you were talking about.
That this 2008 peace
parameters.
proposal, and then you were making the point that in the past 15 years, Israel hasn't offered a serious peace proposal. Yeah.
Yeah. Not that I know, at least. And you can correct me if I'm wrong. And the carry parameters, like Israel just straight up said, no, this is an attack on our democracy. Like we're the only democratic state, blah blah blah, which is kind of like telling of that current government.
A little bit, yeah. Although I would have to see what this follows, because in 2008, is that when we're coming off the, is it the first really big Gaza war?
So there was one in 2008. I don't know how big it was, but I feel like every single Gaza conflict since 2005, there is a debate to be had on why it started.
Sure.
And Israel has used, like, I know for one of them, I don't know, this might be the 2014 one. There was 3 Israelis that were kidnapped and killed, and that was kind of the justification to start the onslaught on Gaza. And I feel like the proportionality of some of Israel's excuses to like start bombing Gaza is a little ridiculous. This most recent one, I think, is probably the most understandable one. But any before that, if you look at the causation, it's a stretch for a military power to just go in and start bombing away. And I think we're gonna eventually have to get into the like how we define human shield, etc.
Okay.
I've seen a little bit. So to be honest, I haven't watched a lot of the stuff that you've researched. So if I'm misrepresenting what you've said or thought, just let me know.
Yeah, I probably, I think in
and-
the next week I need to stop jerking off on stream so much. I might just do the most recent 20 years because all of my history from 2004 onwards is pretty kind of like contemporary, like based in news articles and skimmings. My deep history or understanding is going to be from 2000 to like 1880, I guess, or really from 48 onwards. So there might be important stuff in the last 15 years that has eluded me so far. So that is completely possible. I might just go through. I think there's been like 6 major Gaza-Israel conflicts. Maybe it's worth going through each one of those, but
and I know you, at least from what I've seen on Twitter, you don't really like Finkelstein, and you feel like he kind of is subjective in how he, I guess, presents his. I mean, the facts are the facts, but the story he, I guess, creates around those facts can be misleading, from what I've seen.
Yeah, Finkelstein is at this point somebody I would never trust anything that I read from him. I wouldn't trust the citations, and I wouldn't trust his opinion. I tried to reread. He sent me an updated version of his book, for instance, over the flotilla incident, and then I had a friend telling me, "Oh, you should read his updated chapters." But I noticed that he narrativizes and he argues against things with, like, I would say, quote unquote, common sense. Let me give an example.
Sure.
Wait, what's your educational background? Just so I have an understanding.
I have. So I guess I could just introduce myself in general for
Yeah,
your
sure.
audience. So I mean, you guys can all do your research on your own. I consider myself Palestinian American.
Okay.
I know you don't like hyphens. Both of my parents were born in Hawata. They were forced to flee in 1967 to Jordan, where I was born. Eventually found our way to America. So obviously some of the things I'm going to say may come off as biased. So I recommend everyone just go do your own research and,
Gotcha. When you say Hawata, where is that? Which part of which West Bank? Or
It's close to Nablus. So
Okay.
it's the one that you had looked up on stream yesterday, where the rampage happened in February. The HUWARA.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
It's comprised of 50% Area C, 50% Area B. My family owns land in Hawata, but they're not allowed to build on it technically because it's under Area C.
Yeah.
If they are to build on it, it will get demolished. So instead, we're building like a park there. So there's like nothing really to get demolished.
Okay.
But yeah, that's my background.
Yeah.
Again,
I was just asking educationally. What is do you have like any? I'm a college dropout, so I was just curious.
your science degree. I've researched this topic mainly because, you're told about it as a child your entire life as a Palestinian, right?
Sure.
My dad would sit me down every day, draw me the map, show me every single village where it all is. So it's like kind of been embroidered into my brain.
Okay.
Then when I got into college, I started looking into the topic more frequently.
Okay. Sorry, I was the only reason I was asking education background because it might influence like the examples that I use. I wasn't trying to like figure out like, have you actually researched that? That was the only reason I was asking. Sorry, I wasn't trying to like impede your knowledge. Yeah, I have no idea. Okay, sorry. Backing up, my issue with Finkelstein is I'll just use the law school example anyway. I'm pretty sure that in law school, if you're asked to argue in favor or against, like let's say that you're a second year law student and you're like, okay, you've got to manage this case, you need to make these arguments, blah 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 blah. You would never, when you're writing these briefs, or you would never, as a lawyer, you would never say something like, my client. When they did this thing and this cop did this thing, I don't think my client should be in trouble because that's obviously wrong, right? What you would say is, you would say, here are 2 or 3 prior cases with a similar or identical set of circumstances, and in these prior cases, here's how the judges or juries ruled, right? And because of these rulings, this is why I would say this is incorrect, right? That's the argument you make. It's like citation to prior cases is a really big part of a lot of these arguments. But I noticed that when Finkelstein, and I can even open these books so we could read some of this later, when Finkelstein argues, he'll say, Israel said that their people were under attack, but obviously that's not true because it wouldn't make sense for that to happen. Like, these are a lot of the arguments that he puts in his book. They're kind of comical. Like, I would expect him to be like counter-sourcing or counter-citing somebody else, but it's not. It's usually just him, like, he'll read it and be like, well, I think this is stupid. That's my big issue with...
Can you tell me which books you're referencing exactly?
Yeah, give me 1 second.
So I can. So I've been following Finkelstein for probably over 10 years now, and he's definitely become more aggressive and less patient with explaining the situation properly in more recent books, in my opinion. Just as he's vehemently against anybody who asks for a one-state solution, he thinks that they're just genocidal maniacs for the most part. So it's not like he's just like, Israel bad, Israel needs to be destroyed. He's never been on that side. He's very, very hard on the two-state solution, and he believes that anyone that argues for one state on the Palestinian side is just brain dead, because you're just kind of, international law is not on your side. The world consensus is not on your side. So there's no point to even argue for that. Whether or not you believe the founding of the country of Israel is just, I think it's obviously unjust. I've changed my opinions on this as I've grown up, and I've tried to do as much research as I can on Jewish persecution throughout the world and their need for a homeland. I've always thought that Europe was that place, since they were the main perpetrators of those onslaughts. But you could convince me otherwise. I don't think we should be using any biblical or religious claims to any parcel of land or any argument on both sides.
Sure. The book that I was referring to, by the way, was the newer one that he gave me, was called An Inquest, or it's Gaza, An Inquest into Its Martyrdom.
It's a martyrdom. Yeah. Okay.
Are you familiar with this book? Or have you heard of it at least?
I've heard of the Gaza, the Inquest into Martyrdom. I think he released that in 2014 after the biggest, one of the biggest onslaughts into Gaza. It was like the 50-some day ground invasion that had happened around that time. Did you read the full book? I haven't finished. I've read
there were 3 chapters that I read. It was like Murder on the High Seas. It was the I don't remember the names of these 3 chapters. The pages that he gave me was like 130 to like 170 or something. But it was the 3. He'd written 3 chapters relating to the flotilla incident, basically.
Got it. I mean, to be honest, I'm like less interested in arguing the flotilla. It's just like a small piece.
Oh, sure. I'm not even bringing this up to like argue this particular thing. It was just when I was reading this, it was interesting to me that the way that he would refute arguments it just doesn't seem like something that I would read like this is like an academic refuting this. It's just him saying like, well, obviously this is stupid. That's what it feels like most of his refutations are.
Sure. I would argue, though, you could be right on that. I would argue any quantitative data he's provided, or any policy, or anything where he's like something clearly defined, is pretty factual. Now, you can argue that he's cherry picking and not giving you the full picture, which is fine, but I don't think there's anything we can point to and say, okay, this is factually incorrect. He's just narrating it in a way that sounds worse than it is. Like,
I would argue some parts. For instance, him just saying that there were shots on the deck before that for the flotilla incident specifically. The fact that he was saying that the soldiers were shooting live ammunition before they got to the deck, that's a disputed fact, and he presents it as though it's like just obviously true. So he does do that quite a bit, but.
Okay, I'd have to look into the sources that are disputing it, whether they're like IDF sources, whether they're like human rights.
Well, the
sources,
source is the leader, the organizer of the flotilla, literally said that IDF soldiers didn't shoot until they were attacked when they came down on the deck. But
okay, fair enough.
But also take into everything I'm saying. You can also do your own research on everything. I think is fine. Yeah.
Sure. I mean, Finkelstein aside, there's others, right? There's Christopher Hitchens, there's Edward Said, there's Noam Chomsky, there's other scholars that have written on this topic.
Hitchens and Chomsky I don't think are 2 people I would consider credentialed enough to care that much. Maybe they've ventured something interesting here, but like Chomsky has written about all sorts of fucking things. Like even in Manufacturing Consent, he's writing about like South America and U.S. intervention there and shit. So I know he's got opinions on everything, but I don't know if they're like deeply researched positions or they're just like a byproduct of his political philosophy, right? And again, I could be wrong. Maybe Chomsky or Hitchens, maybe these are noted academics in these fields. But
I know Chomsky has written a few books on it, as has Edward Said, who, but I mean, regardless, just stepping back a little bit from all these guys.
Yeah, that's fine.
I want to, if it's okay with you, maybe spend the next 1 to 2 minutes me just summarizing this conflict from start to finish, starting in the late 1880s. Obviously, I'm going to like keep a lot of things out, and if there's anything that you think I'm misconstruing, let me know.
Sure.
But the way I see this in the 1880s is when the first Aliyah started. I believe that's how you call it. I apologize if it's incorrect, but it started, and then in, I believe, 1905, when Theodor Herzl had proposed a temporary homeland for the Jews, primarily in Russia, to go to Uganda to create a state. It was later then changed. There was some opposition within the Zionist party saying, like, no, let's not do this. And then they finally settled on the Balfour Declaration and moved to, as we know, Palestine. And there was obviously some resistance towards that. I would argue the resistance wasn't so much of the immigration, more so the, I guess, desire to create a state on this land, right? I think that was the main opposition, but also obviously mass migration from Europeans who rightfully were trying to get away from like some pretty shitty circumstances.
Sure. Although I
and
will
that
say,
kinda-
I'll give you this point, okay? And this is very irritating because a lot of Zionists will bring up the Holocaust over and over and over and over again for why so many Jews are trying to escape to Palestine, blah, blah, blah. That comes way the fuck later. I don't want to say it's inconsequential, but that has almost nothing to do with the initial flights of Jewish immigrants that were going to
100%.
Palestine. Yeah.
100%
So
agree.
when they bring up the Holocaust stuff, it was a huge reinforcer where like the Jewish people are like,
There
okay,
was
well,
an
look, we told you
influx.
so. Yeah, they're absolutely around that. Yeah. But to pretend that like the Holocaust is the reason why they all went to Palestine and started moving there and finding it is absolutely not true. Huge swaths of land were being purchased as early as I believe the 1920s. So the idea that like the Holocaust is the big driver there is that's a Zionist myth. That's bullshit. But go ahead.
Yeah, and then you hear of the first kind of partition plan, I believe the Peel Commission. So the way I look at the first two, the Peel Commission, the 1947 partition plan, both, I don't think you can argue for, I guess you can't make the case for Palestinians accepting that deal. I feel like it's kind of stupid to expect anyone to take that deal in those circumstances, right? We've been living on this land for a very long time. Why the hell would we want to split this up? The map looked disgusting, and demographically, it made no sense either. It's not like they were giving the percentage to, I think it was like 30% of the Jewish population as of 1947. We're getting 56% of the land. I don't think it made any sense. And there's obviously some arguments. Benny Morris actually writes about this a lot, and he does a good job of it, I believe, describing how the chief, I guess, opposition of the Arabs was them being afraid of expulsion and being afraid of this Jewish nation kind of forcing them out of their lands or whatever. And land seems something really stupid to fight about in the West to us, but we have to understand in the Middle East this is like so valuable. Like this is like your family's been there for centuries and centuries, and I hear the argument all the time. Well, Jews have been there for 3,000 years. Sure, there's definitely been Jewish presence. I don't think anybody argues that. But
Wait. Shit, hold on, wait. Your shit just like for a second. Okay, wait. Are you okay?
Sorry, yeah.
Wait, no.
You hear me?
Hold on. Yeah, I did, but it was like blipping and lagging a bit.
Good now?
Hello?
Yeah, do you hear me?
Okay, yep, okay, I think that's okay. Yeah, okay, go for it.
Okay, so yeah, long story short, just to kind of cut all that stuff up, 1947 partition plan, Arabs rightfully rejected. No shit. War happens, Israel clearly wins. Done. We are where we are now. I think you're showing on your screen where we kind of landed to. Okay, I'm like, as a Palestinian, I acknowledge that.
Sure.
Countless
I think
countries
that
have been conquested by others.
Yeah. I think that I would probably say, so I've given this explanation in the past, although it's unsatisfying to a lot of people, that there are times where I feel like you can have proper justification for like fighting on both sides. Like if in 1967, if all the surrounding Arab states would have won the war and expelled a majority of the Jewish people from, historic Palestine, and ethnically cleansed whatever, most of them leave or some of them stay and they become part of like some Palestinian state or a unified Arab state, I don't think I would have a huge problem with that. Like I think I can understand that, right? At least up to 1967. It's like, because yeah, obviously you've got a bunch of people living here, you're bringing in what's essentially European colonial settlers, right? That not essentially, that's exactly what they are. And if you feel like you have a right to fight for that land because of either promises that the Brits had made to you, because of the historic character of that land under the Ottoman Empire, whatever, yeah, fuck it. I mean, I think you have a right to fight for that. I think that's completely understandable for sure.
Okay. Sorry, did you stop talking or did you get cut off?
No, I stopped talking.
Okay. I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. I don't think it's fair to make the assumption, if the Arabs won, even like the 48 war, they would have just kicked all the Jews out. Maybe they would have kicked out the European I can't say the word.
Colonizers?
Colonialists? Sure, there you go, colonizers.
Well, I mean, but I think at that point,
maybe.
wasn't it like fucking 90% of the Jews there would have been from Europe, right? Like the vast majority of them there weren't.
I think in 1948, yes. I think in 1950, 51 is when it's like, I think today it's like 70-some% the Jewish population is like Sephardic from Arab countries.
Sure, but like even when we say that, well, I would be careful here because the Zionists will kill me if I get these numbers wrong. But like even if we say that 70% are Sephardic or whatever from Arab countries, they weren't from Palestine, Syria, or whatever. They weren't from that area. They had immigrated from other Arab countries to go
Correct.
there.
Yes.
Right?
Morocco, Iraq, Yemen. Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. I agree. And look, we can go back and forth and say Jews were living under persecution under Arab lands. I would say relatively to the time, they were pretty safe compared to like European countries.
That might be true. Okay, when I'm cutting
Well,
you off, I
even
just
with
want
the facts, like-
to. Yeah, I just want to.
Sure,
I'm filling this out more because if I'm wrong on something, then you can tell me if I'm wrong on something. Prior to I think 1920 or 1930, I think the vast majority of Jews that were fleeing violence were coming from. I know the Russian Empire was a really big one. That there was a lot of pogroming and shit going on over there. I think the first Aliyah might have been almost exclusively. I think it was Eastern European Jews and then people from the Russian Empire, and I know that trend carried on for a while. However, I think from 48 onwards, all of the new flights of Jews happened because it seemed like every time Israel got into a major conflict with the surrounding Arab states, all of the other Arab countries kind of started pogroming and shit the Jewish people living there, and not all the Jewish people were like, well, fuck this. I think Benny Morris has argued, I think, on like different push and pull factors that like as many Jews left, it wasn't just because they were all being pushed out. It was also because they had like a cool new nation they wanted to go to, and they're like, well, fuck this, let's go. But like, I think there's an argument that there was a push there, that they were being pushed out, and there was a pull from Israel too. But then 48, 67, I think even 58, it was because of the conflicts that they were starting to get kind of fucked up in their home Arab states.
I agree. I believe, like you can even argue collective punishment. I think there was both push and pull. I think, obviously it's no, I don't think there was any written policy by any of these countries to expel Jews. Actually, I think some countries even said they are not allowed to emigrate to Israel. They need to stay here. I think Iraq was one of them.
Sure.
But, I wouldn't like die on that hill. But I believe that's the case. I don't think there was any policy to expel Jews from those countries. Did they start facing more pogroms and persecution after the 48 war? I don't dispute that at all.
Sure. I will say that might be right. I'm not 100% sure, although a couple people are saying that apparently Egypt like gave them 24 hours to fuck off. So I'm not sure if that's true.
I believe it.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not gonna like argue that. Like very possible. I just know that they also had very prominent roles throughout the region prior to the creation of Israel. I know there was a Jewish advisor to the king of Morocco for a very long time, and they both had like escaped the Inquisition from Spain, et cetera, et cetera. So, regardless of getting into all that, 48 or 47 partition plan, can you see why the Arabs wouldn't have accepted that partition plan before any of this exodus happened from Middle Eastern countries?
Yeah, for sure.
Do you see the case why like it wouldn't really make sense? And I don't think you can argue for it. Okay, so at this point, I think we both kind of agree. Brits were kind of fucked in giving and like kind of starting this problem.
They overpromised hardcore. Yeah.
They overpromised everything. They promised the French. They promised the Arabs. They promised the Zionists. Overpromised without taking into consideration the people that actually lived there. That's one. Now, post 48, 67, we can argue about who started the war. Obviously, Egypt controls Gaza and Jordan controlled the West Bank. And a lot of people say this, these Arab colonizers, no one was complaining. I think there's a very clear difference between Jordan controlling the West Bank and Israel controlling the West Bank. And if you want to argue that, we can. One, obviously settlements, obviously like checkpoints, like a million different things, like quote unquote apartheid roads.
Wait, can you repeat the last thing you just said before we got on this? Make the argument for what?
I'm saying I'm making the argument that Jordan controlling the West Bank is very different than how Israel's controlling the West Bank.
Oh.
And so obviously Palestinians are going to resist more how Israel's controlling it, not just because they're Jewish, but more so because how they're militarily occupying them and creating settlements and taking land and building things and like whatever, whereas Jordan kind of like just controlled it. I agree. but weren't necessarily subjugating the Palestinians to different laws and getting beaten. And I mean, obviously there was Black September and all of that, but I don't think they were being subjugated like they are against.
Yeah, I think I could.
As they are against the Israelis.
I think I could agree with that, but I think if I'm agreeing with that, I think that that's going to flesh out my argument more for why the Palestinian people didn't see themselves as being like a Palestinian people. They were just kind of like Arabs, a collection of Arabs living in this area, and you know, yeah, they were part of like Jordan or Egypt, then of course I'd be chill because they're all kind of like a similar-ish people. But if they had strong feelings of like a Palestinian national identity, I don't know if I would agree that like, well, Jordan controlling us is at least better than, than Israel controlling us, even if the character of the occupation is different. Because it really does seem to me, like I could be wrong, but it really does seem to me to be like in 48, Egyptian and Jordanian advancement into that historic Palestinian area it was literally just territorial conquest. Like that was it. They weren't there to just like protect the Palestinians or anything. They were just conquering territory. Like I think Jordan actually conquered up to the 47 partition lines, and I think Jordan stopped. I don't even know if they like tried to make huge excursions into Israeli land.
So this is actually Jordanians are very well hated amongst a lot of the Arab world because of this problem, because they feel like they were backstabbed, they were traitors, they gave land to Israel. Like the Iraqi military that had portions of like Haifa during the 48 war was handed over to Jordan, which kind of handed it over to Israel with agreements to take the West Bank. So I think when we talk about countries, we have to recognize that the people almost never represent, especially in Arab countries, represent what the leadership does. Like if you look at Egypt and Jordan, like the populations there fucking hate Israel, even though there's peace treaties between the countries. But I don't disagree that there was a conquest by Jordan and Egypt by the on those lands. I do know that there was some in Gaza at least pushback and resistance against the Egyptians for a while. By no means like to the level we see now. And I believe the PLO, I'm not sure exactly when the PLO was established. I want to say before 67.
Well, let's see. The PLO was obviously big in 70, but I think it's before 67 the PLO gets established. I think so, yeah. I think it's established, isn't it, in the West Bank? I can check, but go ahead.
I think it was in early 60s, but I believe it was before the 67 war, which to me shows clearly there was an identity prior to 67, like a Palestinian identity of wanting, their own state.
I would agree that like once Israel emerges, I think people really want to fight against Israel and really want to get rid of Israel. But at that point, I feel like those people wanting a state is a function of one, the other Arab states around them having states, and then two, like them wanting to kick the Jewish people out of Israel, basically, or the Israeli people out. So yeah, I would say that maybe around this point, like when these Palestinian parties start to form, they're like kind of quote unquote nationalist. But I think it's more in opposition to Israel more than like this historic yearning for their nation state is emerging from a Palestinian people. I think that would be my feeling on it. But go ahead.
I don't want us to get hung up on this so much, but I've heard Ben Shapiro say something like, "Oh, there was never a Palestinian like that. That's like a made-up word," which is maybe in English it was, but in Arabic, like Palestini has been around for like centuries. Like that term, it may have not been referring to the exact borders we see today. Obviously, these borders are pretty arbitrarily drawn by the Brits, but there was almost like a character, maybe not a character that seeked. You may be right. They wanted just one unified Arab country, but there was still a type of people, and maybe in the 60s is when they started really saying like, okay, it's time for us to get our own country because, the Iraqis and the Egyptians, they all got their own countries. Like we were promised this from like the whatever ruler of Mecca, and we're not getting our land. But regardless, 67 war happens. We can disagree on who started that war. You can say it was a provocation from the closure of the Suez Canal, and I can say like, well, at the end of the day, Israel fired the first rocket and lied about it. So I'm not interested in going into that, like whatever. I'd rather focus on the present. 67, After 67, we have, I believe, there was at some point the PLO pretty early on recognized Israel's right to exist, and Israel as a state to live side by side with a Palestinian state. I don't know if you've done that in your readings or at all.
Was that a requirement for them to get that observer status in the UN? I know they did in the Oslo Accords, but that was in '93. Do you think it happened before that?
The observer state didn't happen until like 2012, like way later. At least the non-observer.
Wait, are you sure?
Pretty much access to the criminal court happened in 2012. I don't know exactly if there was like some recognition before then. I know they established themselves as a state. I want to say was it 93?
Well, 93 was Oslo Accords and everything. Wait, I thought it was like the 70s that they got some observer status. Oh yeah, here it is. I'm sorry. Okay, yeah, it's been a long time since I read this. Okay, so November of 1974, the PLO was granted observer status at the UN, and Yasser Arafat addressed the General Assembly. I don't know if this means that like Palestine was recognized as an official state, although we're moving pretty far past Resolution 242 at this point. So maybe for the UN, I don't even know what it means for the UN to have a resolution to recognize a state that doesn't have a government. I don't know what any of that means. So even, yeah. But okay, go ahead.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I know in 2012 it changed. There was a vote. I believe it became an observer state before it was a non-observer state, or vice versa. Not 100% sure. Regardless, 73 war or 67, obviously Israel took more land. 73 Yom Kippur, Syria, Egypt attacked. Jordan kind of begrudgingly joined, and I think that there was a peace deal in 79. My dates can be wrong, sorry. 79 between Egypt and Israel to say like, here, we're gonna give you the Sinai back. This is over. Sinai Peninsula is yours, and we're all good to go. I think around that, or maybe it wasn't until the 90s where Jordan signed a peace treaty with Israel. Not 100% sure on the Jordan, but I know is some peace treaty there.
Yeah, I think Egypt was 70. I think Egypt was 79, and then I think it was like 76 to 79, and then Jordan I think was 94 because I think it was a few years after the Madrid conference in 91. But yeah,
that sounds right. Yeah, early 90s for Jordan sounds right. During this time, since 67 till now, Israel has been continually building illegal settlements. I don't think that's like up for debate. I think you've acknowledged that. I think the entire world is on board with that these settlements are illegal by law, and the people living under this occupation have, and you can push back on this, have the right to. Or
actually, wait, real quick, I don't know about that part. I'm very hesitant now on anything relating to international law. When we say the settlements are illegal under international law, is that like do we absolutely know that, or is this like a debated or contested thing?
I think America has even acknowledged these settlements as illegal. I don't think this is contested at this point. Feel free to do your research. I can try to find some sources on this.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be curious to see that. Yeah.
Obviously, it's a big point whether or not these settlements are illegal. I think the case for Israel is saying, well, Palestine isn't necessarily a country, so these settlements aren't technically illegal. I think that's the pro-Zionist case.
Okay.
So it's we can build on it because technically it's not a country, which is I think a weak case, since the majority of the world recognizes Palestine as a state. So fast forward, bunch of peace attempts at peace. I think like 8 or something. Madrid, you named a few. Oslo, right, is when we kind of broke up West Bank into the 3 areas for joint control, which I think was a terrible mistake by the Palestinians. I think at that point, Yasser Arafat. I'm trying to say like these names with like a non-Arabic accent. He was so desperate for recognition where he just wanted to like agree to whatever he gets offered. That was my take on it. I will admit that's a opinion, and they agreed to this like really crappy situation where Israel controls Area C, joint control over Area B, and Palestinian control over Area A. All of these enclaves. So when you go there, it's essentially wait at a checkpoint for a few hours, arbitrary time, to get to the other side of like the equivalent of going from like LA to San Diego, right? It's like it's a 2-hour trip. It's gonna take you like 12 hours at sometimes. And then obviously there's laws in the West Bank, military laws against, like, you go through military court if you're a resident of the West Bank, and you don't get the same rights obviously as an Israeli citizen. So a lot of bias there. I don't know if you've heard of a group called Breaking the Silence. I believe they were established in 2004 by IDF veterans that want to anonymously give their testimonies on what they do in the West Bank, and some of them are regretful, and some of them feel like that is something Israel has to do. And it's some crazy testimonies that you'll see on how Israel tries to essentially break the will of the Palestinians in the West Bank from wanting to have their own state. So settlers, I think you've already talked about this, are pieces of shit, and settlements should be, for the most part, demolished and removed, and people should go back to Israel proper, and a two-state solution needs to happen. Now, my argument is, in the past 15 years, there hasn't been any attempt by Israel, I would say quite the opposite, any type of solution. And so those living under occupation in, I would say Gaza is under occupation, and you can reject that point because they ripped out the settlements, like the 55,000, I think, settlers that were there. I would argue it's still under occupation because Israel has, the population registry, control over that, control over, obviously, airspace, the water, the borders. So I would argue that that's still technically an occupation. I don't know if you disagree with that phrasing.
I don't really care that much. I feel like it basically is an occupation. I think I got one person emailing me, pushing me back really hard, saying that, like, just because you embargo control these things, it's not an occupation. My feelings on that, like, don't matter that much unless it's like a huge argument for something later on. Then maybe I would revisit this opinion and try to figure out. Yeah.
It's important because if it is an occupation, Israel is responsible for for those they're occupying, including giving them water, food, and electricity.
Sure.
That's
so,
why
like,
it's important to make that distinction.
Okay, yeah. Like, so the reason why I would disagree is because I would say that, like, even if it's not an occupation, all of the protective measures that Israel has up blockading that territory would still make them responsible. We'd probably end up agreeing, in fact, but yeah,
Okay, so given that the past 15 years nothing has really come out, I've seen you in the past, like, you'll call certain groups terrorist groups, which is fine. I don't want to argue that. And it's you kind of have to admit the IDF, and I know you've said that non-state actors are the only ones that can be designated as terrorist groups, or at least that's what you feel. And it's
hold on. Let me be super clear before we get into this one. When I said it feels like only non-state actors are generally classified as terrorists, what I'm working off of is that, like, when we use words like terrorists, I think we're very much like in these kind of like bubbles of grouping things together. I don't think there's like a strict definition. I don't even know in the United States. I think some of our orgs might disagree on like what a terrorist is or isn't. So yeah, that's when I say that, I'm saying, like, I'm just saying, like, how do we feel about things generally? I think that the word terrorist is like a kind of like a feeling word. I don't put much like legal or moral authority necessarily behind it, right? Like, you could probably argue that the early American revolutionaries were terrorists, or that the Boston Tea Party was like a terrorist act, maybe, arguably, I'm not sure. So I don't have like strong feelings about that word. Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Look, I couldn't agree more. I feel like the word has been kind of like used in so many different contexts. I think from the pro-Palestinian side, it feels like any kind of armed resistance against the occupation, whether it's against Israel proper or settlements in the West Bank, is seen as terrorist, quote-unquote, terrorist attacks. Whereas when you look in the news, what settlers are doing are considered, extremist violence, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I agree that it's more of like an emotional word rather than like meaning anything. Do you believe that groups or people under an occupation have the right to armed resistance? There is international law on this. There is, like, I think the ICC. I can send you something about it, where if you are under occupation, you are technically allowed.
Well, careful.
That
is true, but none of that international law. Wait, fuck. Hold on one second. none of the international law is going to allow you to like kill civilians, right?
Absolutely.
None of the international law is
Agreed.
going to allow you to do indiscriminate attacks. Yeah. So like, you know, can they fight back in certain ways against like occupying powers, or whatever? I mean, like probably, but like obviously that's not our issue in general. I don't.
It's very
think,
important.
right?
Like I know you look. You say probably, but it's they do have the right, right? If let's say a hypothetical, Palestinians in the West Bank killed an Israeli soldier, that should be allowed under international law, according to what you just said and according to what I'm saying, and not indiscriminately attacking civilians. I think it's really hard to argue against that. So I'm curious. Do you think that they are Palestinians living in the West Bank or Gaza are allowed to attack military bases or
indiscriminately
sites or
kill
soldiers?
soldiers? My leaning is like heavily no. I'm trying to think of ways to like claw back, because like it's the thing that's annoying about this is that like even calling this an occupation is like so, everything about the situation is so unique. Here would be a question for asking if I could compare this to something. Has there ever been in the history of the world a people who get occupied who aren't part of like a prior state?
Who aren't part of a prior? I mean,
like,
would
so
you
for instance,
say-
let's say there was like a country of, let's say there was the country of Nebraska, and Iowa invades and indefinitely occupies, you know, Omaha, right? And they've got an occupation going on there, right? Like the people of Nebraska might fight against this occupation, but like, let's say that it like, if we're in like the Wild West or some shit, or there's not even a country declared yet, is that occupation of the same character as occupying a pre-existing state?
Why does it matter if it was a state or not?
Why does it matter if it was a state or not?
I mean, an
Well,
occupation
because
is
when we say
occupation,
an occupation, what are we occupying?
Sure. Something that's not yours. Something that's not yours in terms of like sovereignty. You don't have sovereignty over that land.
Sure, but when we say not yours, whose is it?
The people that live there. And look,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the state of Palestine is recognized by what, over 100 countries now.
Well, like retroactively though, right? Like not at the time, right?
I mean, settlements have been built since then.
Sure. No, yeah, I agree. But I'm just saying that the because
it's
like,
a hard
yeah,
argument that you're gonna try to make here. It's,
well, hold on, wait.
I
don't agree with that. I don't think it is a hard argument. I think it's a confusing one, but I think it's confusing on all sides. I don't think it's like clearly confused on one side and obviously true on the other. The idea that like a people who live in an area obviously indefinitely, forever and ever into infinity, control that land, even if their country collapses and dissolves, that's fantastic. I don't know if that's ever been true at any point in human history, right? So the Palestinians did not have a state. The Ottoman Empire collapsed. The idea that every single people living in every single part of the Ottoman Empire have an indefinite right to forever settle that land, I think that that's ridiculous to assume that would be the case. Do we agree with that or no?
Who else would be able to, who else would have the right to settle on that land if not the people living there?
I mean, it would be other people through conquest, no? Isn't that how the land was originally settled?
Okay.
Or let's say, here's a question, right? Let's say that it wasn't even through conquest. Let's say that if we look at historic Palestine and we say, was it 200,000 or 300,000 that were living in that whole region? What if you just like conquered the land like in between the villages? Is that okay since nobody lives there, but you left like the villages alone? Or do they also own all the land that they're not even on?
In my opinion, I think it's more of like, it's hard to say, like, do I own this street in front of my house? Like, can someone come and occupy that street?
Well, no,
if I
the
don't
United
live on
States
it? Like,
does, right? Well, no, that's all very clear. You probably have an easement with the city for like your sidewalk. The streets themselves are owned by the city or the municipality, right?
No, let's talk about historical Palestine for a second, right?
Sure.
Did they own the streets they lived on, like assuming it was historical Palestine, and this like conquest came in and like, if they come and build bases on my roads and my city streets and the outskirts of my village, is that not an occupation?
Well, isn't that
I think
exactly
we're
what the
getting-
Ottoman Empire did when they took over territory and when the Palestinians started moving in there and everything? Like, isn't that exactly what happened? Isn't that why there's a second temple, and isn't that why there's an Al-Aqsa mosque, and isn't that why? Yeah, I mean, like that's.
I just want to know what you're trying to argue. Are you trying to argue that there isn't an occupation, or are you trying to argue that this is such a unique situation that it's going to be hard to apply occupation laws to it?
Yeah, what I'm saying, it's weird because it's hard to apply occupation laws to it because the territory that Israel took in 1948, in 1967, right? They didn't take territory from the Palestinians, right? None of the territory that was captured. No, seriously, it wasn't. None of the territory captured in '67 was from Palestinians. It was territory captured from Jordan, which is renounced ownership of it, and it was territory captured from Egypt, which is renounced ownership of it, and then it was territory captured from Syria, the Golan Heights, which is currently disputed. So we've conquered territory now and drawn armistice lines around territory from other countries, and now those countries are like, well, we don't want that territory now. They've resigned to it. So who was it even conquered from to say that it's currently an occupation?
I mean, the fact that doesn't Resolution 242 like the world's acknowledging these borders, and this is the Palestinian state and this is a Israeli state, doesn't that kind of like tell you like, okay, this is their land now? And let's say it doesn't, right? Are you saying that the French occupation of Algeria in the 1800s was not an occupation because I don't, or any kind of colonization by the Brits, through the history of time, were those not occupations? Because if the countries weren't defined borders yet, like the idea of like countries coming to existence, and like a lot of them came into existence, like this nationalist movement in early 1900s when regions started turning into countries from empires, is like not a super old idea. So we can't just look at country borders as being like the only thing that counts, right? Like, do you dispute that the French occupied Algeria for almost 100 years?
Okay, so I want to be very clear that everything here is very difficult, okay? Because when we talk about, here's a couple things I think we'll probably agree with, right? The concept of like empires or nations with self-contained like borders and governments. I want to say, did this concept start to largely like substantiate? Was it like not until the 1800s, or was it even a bit later? But like
I would say, yeah, around the late 1800s, early 1900s. I know like the Austro-Hungarian Empire, there was like 12 different countries that wanted to come out of it, and Algeria wasn't founded as a country until like 1879 or something, and before that they were occupied by the French. And your argument is, well, they weren't technically occupied because it wasn't technically a country.
Well, no, wait. I haven't even gotten to that point. Wait, I haven't gotten to that point yet, right? I just wanted to establish, first of all, that like the idea, like the idea that we use right now for like nations and countries is a relatively newly emerged phenomenon, right? The only reason why I'm saying this is because when we talk about like an occupation, I'm uncomfortable comparing like an occupation now versus like an occupation like 300 years ago, because I think it's a bit different. Kind of like I would be comfortable calling like the actually I'm not sure. I had an Australian scholar come on once and argue with me that the idea that like you can't call things from like the 1400s or 1500s a genocide. It's weird to retroactively apply these newer understandings of international law. So I don't want to argue about the genocide thing, but I'm just saying like that's why I would say I'd be careful.
You're right.
So
you're right. I agree with the retroactively like labeling things, but these occupation laws came into play prior to the 67 occupation.
Yeah. So I guess my question would be then is again, when there was an occupation of, if we say there was an occupation from 67 onwards, who was the occupation of? Like who was being occupied? Like what?
I would say the land that was remaining from the 1948 or 47 partition plan that was designated for the Arabs. That's what I would say. The remainder of that, because like you can't say it's like you're almost giving that super pro-Zionist, like there's a people, it's a land, or it's a people without a land and then a land without a people argument. There was people there was villages there, they've been there for centuries, and whether they were national and they wanted their own nation is
Well,
is
hold on,
besides the
wait.
fact.
Let's.
In 1947.
Or go ahead. You can finish your point. I'll fight you on that a
Yeah,
little
sorry.
bit. Go ahead.
In 1947, my point is there was a partition plan made, Arabs rejected, there was a war that followed. Israel was able to expand to what was the 1967 armistice line, or the 1940. No, sorry, the 1949 was the armistice line. So 67 was like the borders that the 242 resolution points out as being, okay, this is the newly defined state of Israel, and that's when the UN recognized the state of Israel at the 1967 borders. Like, you can't go back and push them back into the 47 borders, which is fine. But I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, your argument is, well, the Palestinians within the 1967 borders, it's not technically their land, so there is no occupation because what are they occupying? That's what your argument is, right?
I'm not trying to make that argument that because of a technicality on when nations became nations, we've like used some kind of like verbal kung fu to get rid of the concept of the occupation. Okay, I'm not trying to make that argument because I think we both agree that that'd be a kind of wacky argument to make. But what I would like people to recognize is when we use these words like occupation, I think people think that they're standing on far firmer ground than they actually are. The ground here is incredibly shaky. Even when we talk about like Resolution 242, how many Arab states do you think would have originally signed on to that? Because my understanding is it would be like 0.
When you say originally, do you mean like back in 1967? Or do you mean like ever? Because I think the Arab League had came out with like a joint statement in the 90s, recognized Israel's right to exist, peace to Israel, and no more problems based on the 1967 borders. I will say they did like request like full right of return, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
but
because my understanding is like
at this point.
Yeah, because Resolution 242. Keep in mind that 242 would have required, part of that was a requirement of recognizing Palestine as a state.
Absolutely.
Also came with it recognizing Israel as a state. And I don't know if the
100%.
other Arab states in that region would have even been okay with that. I would have to go back and check to see what they're saying. I know I think in Wikipedia it says like they consulted them, but I don't know like in terms of their agreement with that or not. But
sure.
Yeah.
But
But anyway,
I know in the 90s.
Go ahead.
They've acknowledged Israel. Like in the 90s, they've acknowledged Israel. It's like, you have the right to exist, like based on whatever 242 and a just resolution to the refugee problem. And I know we're getting caught up in like definition of occupation, and you say it's like a shaky ground.
Sure. I'm not, by the way, when you say caught up in the definition, I don't think we're caught up at all. I think it's incredibly important to like analyze how strict the ground here is, because like if this was a strict occupying force that had taken land from another sovereign state, like comparable to, say, what's going on with Russia and Ukraine right now, I think you have very strong, not only international authority, I think you have a very strong moral authority to stand on this ground and fight for your particular rights to that land. I don't think that that ground is anywhere near as firm as pro-Palestinian people would make it out to be. And we can fight on that for a variety of reasons if you want, or we can move on and we can say this isn't that important. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say there's no occupation at all. Like, clearly, there's some type of occupation. Yeah, of course, yeah.
I understand your point. I don't like to make the distinction between, they were countries, they weren't country prior, they're a country now, it was a part of an empire, blah, 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 blah. Like, we agree that there's an occupation, whatever, however strong those grounds are.
Okay.
Like, you can fight back at me. I mean, like America itself, Israel itself has recognized that it's an occupation. So it's not like no one's really fighting on this. So I don't think there's a point for us to fight on it.
Sure, that's fine.
Unless you're like some far right parties in Israel.
Sure, but I want to be careful in that because I want to be very careful in that because the only reason why we're fighting on this was because it came up with, do you think somebody should have a right to fight against an occupier? And you did a little sneak there where you said, well, even the United States recognizes it's an occupation. I doubt the United States would say, but Israelis have a right, or I'm sorry, Palestinians have a right to fight back and kill Israeli soldiers the same way that we would say Ukraine has a right.
It doesn't.
Well, sure, but we just cited.
You're right.
Sure, but I'm just saying we cited as like U.S. opinion against this. What?
What's in writing and what's like the consensus? And the consensus of look, America has always stated that settlements are illegal, but every time there's a resolution to condemn the settlements, they either veto or abstain by saying, we believe both sides need to negotiate. it doesn't change the fact that the settlements are illegal. You can say that. You can say like America can in one breath say, yeah, the settlements are illegal, and another breath say, oh, but we're gonna like veto this resolution condemning the settlements. Doesn't really make a lot of sense. That's why it's like,
well, sure, but I think,
but like countries,
but like we would look at like Ukraine, and we would say Ukraine is completely within their right to fight back, and we would fund them and we give them weapons. We're like, yeah, fight and kill Russians, right? So I think I think it's important to look at like how we view it, right? Although I do acknowledge the U.S. is against the settlements, but yeah.
I think the U.S.'s support for different countries is based on their own like self-interest, which is fair. I think U.S. isn't just giving weapons to Ukraine because it feels like wants to be like feels like it's the right thing to do, even if it is. I think there's like some self-interest there, but I don't know much about the Ukraine conflict, so I'm not going to pretend to.
Sure, that's fine.
But for this current situation, I've heard you say like, anytime like, Palestinian people committed Palestinian terrorist attacks or terrorist attacks, Hamas has committed terrorist attacks because of like this bombing of this bus or this area or this like stabbing of this soldier or whatever it is. I think it's important when we're using words to like keep the same standard for both sides. So Israel has committed, in my opinion, like much worse terrorist attacks, like severely worse. I'm not talking like the Cave of Patriarchs or some like random delusional guy. I'm talking about like policy wise. Now, would you kind of fast forward to the current conflict in Gaza? Do you believe that post October 7th, there has been...
Wait, can I clarify real quick? Because just when you say
Sure.
Israel's committed way worse, you just mean because they're an occupying force and they enact double standard measures on different citizens. That's what you mean, right? Or what do you mean by that?
Double measure standards, yeah, that's one. I think the proportion of their like example, a guy stabs an Israeli soldier in the West Bank. His family's home is demolished, and Israel goes into, let's say he's living in Jenin, goes into Jenin and like kills like 5 people trying to find him, and like all this other like there's like a double standard. Whereas an Israeli shoots a Palestinian dead. I don't know if you've heard of it. There was like a Palestinian teenager. I want to say he's a teenager, but he stabbed an Israeli soldier. Was shot. He was lying on the ground. There's a video of this. He wasn't dead yet, and just some random Israeli soldier walks up to him, point blank range, and shoots him in the head. He gets arrested, goes to jail for like 12 months or something.
How recent was this?
This was in the 2010s.
Okay, I'd be curious and see the story on that. That'd be.
I can show you the actual video of the kid.
I like to see the story too. I just want to so I have the full context of it.
Yeah, let me.
Also, wait, while you look for that real quick, and you can say, hold on, I'm gonna use yours real quick. Okay, 1 sec.
Sure.
Okay, sorry, I'm back. Wait, can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you. Where do you want me to send you this article? This is the shooting of the 21-year-old. Kind of was like an injured Palestinian. If you're injured, I don't have to send it to you if you're not interested. It was just
No,
like
I am.
this guy.
Here, I sent your friend out on Discord. You can accept and then send me there.
So here's that. And if you're into some NSFW, what's that? Here's the YouTube video. He did something like a year in prison. Just pretty wild. Just like you're on video, point blank, shooting a guy in the head. To be fair, the Palestinian tried to stab an Israeli soldier, but to my previous case,
to be
like
fair, yeah, that's still horrible.
it's okay, yeah, it's horrible, which is why I started with the argument like, do they have the right to armed resistance? But regardless, let's say
No. Hold on. I'm sorry, you misunderstood me. I said it's horrible to shoot the guy in the head if he's on the ground, even if you try to stab somebody. That's
sorry.
horrible.
Yeah, I did misunderstand you.
Yeah, no. Hold on one second. Wait, when does he get shot again in this video?
Okay, let me. You're gonna make me watch this, aren't you? Okay, hold on. Okay, go to like 148. Start from there. I don't know if they don't show like the actual moment it happened, or if they like skip. They might skip.
Fuck. Wait, does the shooting happen at 1:40? I'm just trying to figure out, is he like already shot, or does he get shot in this video? I don't know the volume.
I'm trying to see. I specifically remember like a video of him like cocking his gun, walking up and like blasting him. Trying to find it. Yeah, so he's moving at like 19 seconds, 20 seconds. Oh, okay. So at 150, you'll see a guy like cock his gun in the back. He's wearing like a cap, not a helmet. And then he walks up to him, aims, and he shoots.
Wait, at what
Boom.
time?
I just the shot happened exactly at 154. So go
Okay,
to
hold on.
150 and start from there. It's like the van comes right into view.
Okay, hold on one sec. Where's the guy that I'm looking for with the gun?
So he's okay.
Or I guess
so
actually it's
you're
on
at-
YouTube, so I can probably watch it on stream. One sec. Wait, no. Or sorry, hold on.
It does blur. It blurs it out.
Dude, my fucking voice better be fully good tomorrow. I'm getting so fucking triggered. Okay, at 150.
150, you'll see a guy, I want to say he's like facing the camera, not the closest soldier to the
Oh wait, I see.
the
This guy back here, yeah.
Yeah, and he aims and just pops him.
What? Jesus fuck.
Yeah, and he ended up going to jail for like, I think they sentenced him to 18 months, and he ended up getting off early, and everyone was like praising him as a hero, especially like right, left politicians. But this isn't something like, in my opinion, super unique. Like you can go to Betselem's YouTube channel, which you're on, and look at all of the different videos they post of documenting things that happen in the occupied territories. It's like pretty vicious. And even during the Hawada rampage or pogrom, whatever you want to call it, you can see in the videos Israeli soldiers walking with them. And I want you just to imagine if, you know, it was switched, if it was Palestinian. And their excuse was, oh, we
Well,
didn't anticipate this
wait.
civil
Hold on,
violence.
wait. Let me look up this guy's name real quick. Careful with that. Be careful if it was switched, because I'm probably going to be able to find a lot of way more egregious examples than that, would be my guess.
No, I'm saying if it was switched and Israeli soldiers did nothing. That's my argument here. I'm saying if Palestinians were attacking settlers in like swaths of like 200, and Israeli soldiers were around them, protecting them, and not doing anything because, quote unquote, they didn't anticipate that level of violence. There's so many videos showing this of like.
I'm having a really hard time following the.
Okay, this is.
What you're saying.
I'll let you read through this
Sure.
first, and then I can show you some other stuff.
Okay, let me find. I just want to find the name of the soldier that shot. I'm curious if there was a rationale for why he got so little time in jail. Dude, my fucking voice. I'm getting so fucking triggered.
His name is. I can send you his name if you would like. So his last name is Azaria.
Hold on, I'll find him.
It's
Give me like 60
article.
seconds. You can chat in my audience around. I'm just reading this. So.
Sorry, give me 1 second. I'm just drinking some water.
Yeah, you're good. I'm almost done. Sorry.
Maybe I should have offered to read for you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, my
bro.
voice is fucked.
A big spoon of honey.
Yeah, okay. This is fucked, sure.
Okay, that's just like one of like so many examples. I can give you a video of like settlers breaking buildings in the West Bank with soldiers next to them just really doing nothing.
Can I, before we move on to that, just so that we're on the same footing here, has there ever been a video or has there ever been a case where like Hamas or the PLO has held one of their own accountable for killing an Israeli citizen for no provocation? I'm only bringing this up because you said that this was like an example of Israel acting even worse than Hamas or the PLO.
So if there's ever a Israeli citizen, I want to speak to the West Bank first a bit. If there's ever an Israeli citizen that gets killed by a Palestinian in the West Bank, it's almost always, and I'm curious to see if you can prove me wrong on this, an extreme response by the Israeli government immediately, where they go in with their military vehicles and take that person out and hunt them down. So it's almost as no real need for the PLO to. I mean, even if the PLO did want to do that, they're not going to have, or the PA, get confused by the abbreviations, but they're not going to be able to respond as effectively as Israel is going to for a territory they're occupying.
Do you think that part of that like vengeance mentality, which is bad by the way, I don't think it's good, but do you think part of that vengeance mentality might be because they know that the PLO isn't going to give them any justice? That there's no chance that the PLO is going to do an investigation or anything? Because like, doesn't the PLO still pay out from that martyr fund if you end up martyring yourself to kill? So isn't that a little different, right?
Look, I think the reason why this can't be looked at as a back and forth, like a super even comparison, is because again, one side is occupying the other. Now, if you told me that this was, two states and this happened and the PLO wasn't doing anything, or the Palestinian Authority or whoever's controlling the area isn't doing anything, then it's like, that's more of an even comparison. And it's like, yeah, fuck yeah, they should go and like, put that guy in jail or extradite them to Israel proper. I think it's just not a fair comparison given the power imbalance of the area.
Sure, we can say that, but then that means that when we're acknowledging these things, that when you say Israel is doing worse than the Palestinians, that's not built on like a factual, like, what are they doing? In terms of each individual crime, it's built on just the occupation, right?
Yeah, I mean, the basis is the imbalance of power in the region, and you have one side, and it's like, why are these Palestinians attacking soldiers in the West Bank? Because like, is it for fun? Because if that's the case, why aren't the Palestinians in Israel proper attacking the soldiers? Like, it's not these arbitrary random terrorist attacks. Like, I hate when the Zionist arguments, these crazy radical Muslims, like they just want to kill all of us. Like, it's such a stupid argument. And I think that's obviously not this case. Arab countries have been able to make peace with Israel, and Palestinians within the Israel proper have been able to live amongst Jews and prosperity.
But like, doesn't that further the argument that the Palestinian people in the occupied territories are more radicalized because the ones living in Israel aren't crazy and then the other Arab states aren't crazy?
So, or it kind of or you can look at it in the other perspective where, radicalization happens when your rights are diminished and taken away. Because again, when we look at expulsion that happened in 47 and 48 during the war, a lot of people that left Haifa and left Jaffa and left these regions that are in the West Bank now, some of them remained. They lived in the same villages. So my argument would be the violence that we're seeing is a result of the occupation, is a result of the lack of self-determination.
Okay, but if we're talking about like the PLO, what was like the lack of self-determination, or what was the rights being infringed upon by the PLO in the late 60s and early 70s in Jordan? Why did they try to coup the government?
I think at that point it's unfair to compare because that was like fairly fresh in terms of when Israel was established, 15 years prior, Israel's establishment. So it's like their mindset back then was like, we need to take out the whole thing. I agree. Like that was their mindset. The wounds were still not healed. But even back then, I would say the Palestinians living under Israel proper are not violent. And in 10 years, you're not just going to become.
Well, but I don't know when you say Palestinians living in Israel, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't think
I'm
there are
talking
any
about-
Palestinians living in Israel. I think there were people that used to be Arabs, but they're just Israeli citizens. They're not Palestinians.
So a lot of them recognize. I agree. A lot of them do see themselves as Israeli, but I would say the majority see themselves as Palestinians.
Yeah, that's fine.
Still,
but I would argue that's
Palestinian
like
Israelis.
it's a quasi-fictitious term. That
They're
you
the
might,
same. Like, how different are those people? Just by living in different lands for 50 years, it makes them like a completely different people. It doesn't make sense.
Well, do you think the people living in the borders of modern Palestine were significantly different than the people living in the borders of modern Jordan or modern Egypt or modern Syria or modern Lebanon?
I would say they were more different.
No, the
than
answer is
people
obviously no.
living
That's
in
not true.
Haifa.
There's no evidence of that at all, right?
So you don't think the people living in Haifa were different than the people living in Cairo, even
No.
200 years ago?
We're not talking about. You're not saying the people living in Haifa. You're saying the people living in Haifa, the people living in Ramallah, the people living in Bethlehem, the people living in Ramallah or whatever, or the crossing. You're saying all of those people have a lot of similarities, and all those people are similarly different than the people in Cairo. That's not true.
That's what you're saying. Actually,
yeah,
I see what you're saying.
all
Okay,
of these
those
people are different, right?
I
Yeah.
agree have differences, but what I'm saying is 700,000 the people that lived not in Ramallah, within the actual Israel proper, that were expelled. A lot of them ended up in the West Bank, right? Like I think like 200,000-300,000 ended up in the West Bank. I'm saying those people are similar to the people that were in Haifa, and because that's where they came from, like 50 years prior, right? And even if you were to argue that they're still similar to those in Jordan, those in Egypt, even those countries were able to find peace with Israel. So I think it's wrong to say inherently these Palestinians in the West Bank are just violent. When if you're going to say all Arabs are the same, then it's like, okay, how is Jordan able to find peace? If you say all Arabs aren't the same, all the Palestinians are the same, how are the Palestinians that stayed within the Israel proper were able to find peace?
Wait,
Clearly,
I don't even know if these are. I don't.
here-
That it sounds. I don't know if I would ever make either of those two statements. All the Arabs are the same, or all the Arabs aren't the same. Or I don't.
No, I'm not saying you're.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you're making this argument. I'm just saying, in either scenario, the Palestinians. You can't say the Palestinians in the West Bank are inherently more violent because they're the only ones that are under occupation. Like, no other Arabs are under occupation besides those Palestinians, obviously in Gaza. Now, my argument is if there was a two-state solution, violence will drop by a lot. Will it go to zero? Probably not immediately. That's why I think eventually there needs to be a one state, but you can chop my head off on that later.
I disagree, and I don't think there's any reason to believe that. Jesus fuck. Do you want to argue? Can we argue about this tomorrow? I can't. I'm very fucking irritated right now.
No.
Like I can't talk because if I start talking more, I'm losing my voice. I can't fucking say anything. It's actually triggering the fuck out of me.
Totally fine. I can hit you up sometime tomorrow.
Okay, yeah, we're friends on Discord now. So if you want, message me tomorrow when I start streaming, and then we can. Yeah. Does that sound okay? Wait, hello. Oh fuck, you disappeared.
Hello?
Oh, hello.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't know what you didn't hear anymore, but I was going to say that's fine. I can ping you like tomorrow or the day after, whatever. Feel better. Take care. Thanks for the chat.
Yeah, no problem. Wait, do you want to any final closing words? Because I kind of cut you off like in the middle of that. You can do like your final summary of that argument, and then we can resume tomorrow, so that you know, so that you can put a pin on this, so you know where to come back tomorrow too. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess my final argument is Palestinians are getting subjugated, and in the West Bank and Gaza, and Israel has made it very clear that there's no plan to give them any kind of self-determination. And I feel like until that happens, there's going to continue being violence is going to continue, and October 7th can't be looked at in a vacuum. That's all.
Okay. I love you. We can talk more tomorrow. Okay.
All right. Feel better. Bye.
Bye. I don't know if I can't tell if my voice is fucked up as a function of being sick or if it's a function of continuing to talk. Ah, fuck. I really want to talk to you. It'd be super fun, but I don't think I can. I think I'm just destroying my voice for even longer than it needs to be.
Sorry about your voice. Okay. No
or
worries.
wait, yeah, fuck it. You're a fucking doctor. You tell me. Is my voice just fucked because I'm sick and it'll get better? Or if I keep talking with a sore throat, I'm actually prolonging the total amount of time that my voice will be fucked for?
I'd give it a little bit of a rest.
Is that your professional medical opinion?
No. It's not even my field, and you're not my patient. But I don't think we probably even disagree that much. I disagree with the threshold, like the numbers you posted. I don't disagree with the overall point. Like I think there is some point at which like Israel would cave to pressure. It's just that the threshold after recent events and seeing like how the international community is, especially after October 7th, is going to be a lot stronger than the type of pressure they've caved to before. And that's not to say that they can't be done. It's just to say that they're going to be a lot more resistant to international pressure being the sole motivator before. I think in terms of the numbers, I saw 15,000 and 20,000.
I mean, my guess would be that if we went over like 20,000 civilian casualties, that people would start losing their fucking minds. That'd be my guess, but
yeah, we might already be there. So,
well, the official reported ones is it still 11,000 or is it hit 12,000?
No, it's 14,128 from the Gaza Strip right now. So I think it's, and that's just what has been reported. That's probably a whole bunch that are just unaccounted for under rubble right now. So I probably would lean on the side that it's already past 15,000, and I wouldn't be surprised if we're already close to 20,000. So we might even already be there at 20,000.
Sure. But I think if the publicly reported number hits 20,000, I would be shocked if there's a ground incursion into southern Gaza. I feel like it can't happen, but I could be wrong. We'll see. Yeah.
There is some number where I would share that sentiment. It's just going to be higher than 20. That's all.
What do you think?
I think
obviously I'm not like into like fucking hardcore statistics. What do you think that number would look like? Like obviously 500,000 would be way too much.
No,
right?
yeah. So 500,000 would be way too much. It's probably going to look somewhere between more like 50 to 100,000.
Okay.
Yeah. More. Yeah. I think we're probably already at 20,000, and it's only a short amount of time before the public numbers probably hit somewhere around 20,000. They've jumped really quick from the last few days, from like 10,000 to we're already almost at 15,000. So I think the main thing, I mean, look, here's the thing, like you have to overcome certain things that you didn't have to overcome before with that type of pressure. You have to overcome, they're in a situation, I mean, Bibi is in a situation right now where he basically has one thread to like potentially salvage his political career,
which is what, the total annihilation of Hamas.
Which is the total, well, not just like not even that, like the total annihilation of Hamas plus a very substantial amount of hostages returned.
Do we even know how many like are alive at this point, or?
Well, we know at least 53 are alive because it looks like a deal is going to go through. That this is breaking news, so take everything, hopefully that, with a grain of salt. So it looks like Netanyahu has given the go-ahead on a hostage agreement and a truce agreement with Ismail Haniyeh, probably butchering the pronunciation of the name, but that's the leader of Hamas in Qatar. The deal involves, it does not involve any adult male hostages. It only involves minor males and minor females and adult females. It involves approximately 53 hostages, and the expected ceasefire duration will be, I think, around 5 days. And it will also involve releasing a good number of Palestinian prisoners that are minors and female. So, and it looks like that deal is going to go through. Bibi has made a statement that after, it's tough consideration, but he's going to recommend the ministers vote in favor, the security ministers vote in favor of it. Anything can change until that time, but it looks like they are going to go in that direction. He did also say that after ceasefire expires, after that pause stops, whatever you want to call it, ceasefire or pause, that he will continue everything, including going into southern Gaza, including nothing else will change. It's just to abide by the pause. The troops will stay put until the exchange happens, and then the ceasefire duration expires, and then everything else will continue. What needs to be overcome is there needs to be, so from his perspective, it's going to be very hard for him to salvage any thread of his political career without accomplishing at least one of those two goals. Like one goal is what doesn't seem tenable anymore is like all the hostages recovered, which is not going to happen because some are dead and some are missing and etc. Or at least a substantial amount of them. The other thing is just the total destruction of Hamas. After the intelligence and security failure of October 7th, if he doesn't do one of those things, he's just done. That's it. Like there's no coming back from that, unless he can say, okay, yes, I totally fucked up. This was a complete screw up on my part, but at least I accomplished this. At least I recovered most of the hostages, or at least I completely ended Hamas. Probably one of the two, especially if the only one is the hostages one, will not be enough to salvage his career. The Hamas one is probably the thread that has the highest probability of keeping his hopes alive in any political capacity. So that's the sort of pressure that needs to be overcome in a situation like that. So it's going to be there is some amount of international pressure that can do that.
I agree. Oh my fucking god! If you want to come back tomorrow, we should chat about this more.
Sure.
I was gonna say this. No, you're good. There's so much I want to say. I agree with you insofar as Netanyahu is concerned, but I don't think that what you're saying serves the country of Israel. I don't even know if it serves the current composition of the Knesset.
I see. Yeah.
At some point, like what you're talking about is that might salvage Netanyahu's reputation, but I don't know if Israel wants to bear however much negative PR, especially, God forbid, for Israel. Imagine if the civilian death toll got so high that all the progress they'd made with Middle Eastern leadership starts getting rolled back. That would be unreal, right?
Yeah.
We don't know if it's permanent right now, but I'm pretty sure, I think Bahrain, I think the UAE, I think Sudan, and there might have been one other country have already like temporarily pulled ambassadors from Israel. Like imagine if they killed so many Palestinians in Gaza that other Arab citizens started to get so ass mad that other states that had previously been on friendly terms with Israel start to roll over on that. I think that I think the Knesset, I think that the political establishment would look at Netanyahu and go, sorry, bro, you're eating this one. Like, get the fuck out. Like, his reputation doesn't work. Yeah.
Yeah, no. And all of the factors I'm bringing is just like it's all in service of that. So I'm not saying the only factor is Netanyahu, although that is a very big factor. But whatever it is, it's just that the general point is just the same. It's just, there is some threshold you can cross. It's just a lot. You got to climb a lot higher. That's all. So I won't bother your voice anymore. Let me know how you feel in the morning.
I should be good tomorrow. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Love you, man.
Take care.
Okay, I'm gonna go eat some cough drops and take like an hour-long fucking hot shower. Some guy emailed me and said his mom is like a political something area of study. She wanted to talk about this, so that's what I was gonna talk to. I'm gonna see if my voice can recover before that in like an hour and 15 minutes. So I love you guys. Have you watched the Pierce Tate interview? I don't care. No one cares about Andrew Tate anymore. I definitely don't care about Andrew Tate anymore. I'm good. Yeah, I'll be back hopefully in an hour and 50 minutes. Bye.